All right. We got a packed house today. I'd like to welcome everybody out here tonight. Thank you for coming and joining us for this, our regular April School Board meeting of Blaine County School District number 61 on this Tuesday, April 19th at 6 p.m. here at the community campus in the Minnie Moore Room. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And we do have a quorum present. I'd like to excuse Trustee Clayton. He has other work commitments and will not be able to join us tonight. And I believe Trustee Bustos will be joining us here shortly. But we do have, as I mentioned, a quorum here present. We have Trustee Corker, myself, Trustee Benyon, and Trustee Freund. Thank you. My brain's going a million miles an hour right now. So we also have with us our superintendent, Dr. Holmes, as well as our board clerk, Ms. Amanda LaChance, and our business manager, Mr. Mike Chatterton, and assistant superintendent, Mr. John Blackman. Thank you. I appreciate you reminding me also of our student board liaison here joining us for the first time, Mr. Kenneth Ray. So thank him for being here. We also have Ms. Olga Massa Santos in the back to interpret if anyone needs it. También, si alguien lo necesite, tenemos a Olga Massa Santos para interpretar. If you would please stand and join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. And at this time, I'll go ahead and ask for any additions, corrections, modifications, or substitutions to the current agenda.
We do have one modification to the agenda. Agenda item number 13 under decisions, item A of the consent agenda, number 7. It currently reads 2 certified employees request for child rearing leave. There is now only 1 certified employee requesting child rearing leave. The reason for this change is that one of the staff members requesting the leave changed their mind and wanted to rescind before the board.
But nothing can be heard at all back here.
So the reason for this change is that one of the staff members requesting the leave changed their mind and wanted to rescind the request before board approval.
All right. Do I hear a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Sorry.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. The agenda has been amended and will read that only 1 certified employee has requested a child rearing leave under the consent agenda. So with that, we'll go ahead and move forward with the accolades and turn the time over to Dr. Holmes.
Thank you. We have 3 accolades for tonight. The first one is for Lori Engel. Is Lori here tonight? Where? Oh, there she is. There's a sea of faces, so she's hiding back here. Lori is the registrar at Wood River High School. And so the accolade says, I write this letter to recognize a person who is dedicated to making a difference in our school community. Her name is Lori Engel. Lori is the Wood River High School registrar who works in our counseling office. Lori gets to school early every morning and has since I've worked at the high school. She works tirelessly ensuring that transcripts are sent from here to there and student records are kept organized and safe. This year was the first year the high school was involved in offering dual credit chemistry through the College of Western Idaho. Because this was my first rodeo, I needed extra help and assistance navigating the ins and outs of college registration. The county clerk had to be involved with confirming county citizenship. Registering for the college course required course numbers, parent signatures, and paperwork I was not used to dealing with. To say the least, it could not have been done without the steadfast help of Lori Engel. Lori checked the state's Fast Track program to ensure students were credited with state advanced opportunity funds. She sent emails and made phone calls to the college and county clerk. For the first time through the process, it was a bit overwhelming while juggling my classes and student work. I am thankful for Lori and her help and would like her to be recognized for her outstanding work in the counseling office at Wood River High School. Lori was there to ensure that students did not fall through the cracks. She is one constant that is looking out for the best interest of our students. While many teachers and staff perform at high levels, few do it as unselfishly with the dedication, morale, and attention to detail that Ms. Engel does day after day, year after year. Sincerely, Matt Phillips, Wood River High School Science Chair. So thank you, Lori. A little bit later, when I give the update on our advanced opportunities, you will notice a significant increase in science, and so remember Lori at that time, because she's a big part of the puzzle in making that happen. All right, our second accolade is for Ann Elmore and Mindy Benson. Where are those Alturas Eagles? Are they here? There they are. I would like to recognize two teachers at Alturas Elementary for their dedication to our students, Ann Elmore and Mindy Benson. Ann and Mindy are in charge of our after-school program. This is not always a popular or easy undertaking, as most of us, at the end of the day, are exhausted from teaching all day. These two not only teach all day, but they somehow manage to enthusiastically and energetically motivate the kids in our after-school program. Each of them have unique talents they are sharing with our students. Mindy Benson. This is Mindy's second year leading our after-school program. Mindy continues to make this program fun and engaging while integrating academic support through real-life experiences. If you don't already know, Mindy is an exceptional coach. By sharing her amazing talent, our students are learning lifelong lessons in teamwork, collaboration, compassion for each other, and confidence within themselves. She makes sure every second counts. I'm constantly amazed at her endless energy and dedication to our students. Ann Elmore. Ann has been a teacher within our school district for many, many years, and we are so lucky to finally have her here at Alturas. Ann not only has an amazing background as a classroom teacher and reading teacher, she is also an incredibly talented art teacher. By sharing her love of art, our students see themselves as artists. If you walk into the room when they are involved in an art activity, they are completely engaged. So engaged they don't hear you walk in, and they certainly do not want to stop. And this is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It is clear to me that when teachers share what inspires them, our students start to realize the potential within themselves. Ann is truly an inspiring teacher. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the great work these two teachers are doing this year. They deserve recognition for their hard work and dedication to our students. Maggie Shaughnessy, Alturas Elementary reading teacher. So thank you, Mindy and Ann. And our last one is for Principal Brad. Principal Brad, stand up. And this says, good morning, Brad. This was originally written to Brad, and then we got permission to share it as an accolade. I want to follow up with you regarding last night's kindergarten parent meeting at Alturas Elementary. My husband, Alex, and I have been a little nervous about our daughter's transition into kindergarten, and after leaving Alturas last night, we were both excited and relieved. Given the enrollment options in the Valley, we have been agonizing over which school will be best for our family. After watching your presentation at the February board meeting, I felt confident that Alturas was the right choice, but needed my husband to also be on board. As we walked out last night, Alex turned to me and said, "This is the school for our family. I wish that we had had this opportunity when we were growing up." On the drive home, I shared with Alex the numerous stories that I have heard from other parents in the community with children at Alturas. Parents that I have talked to all have a consistent response. Principal Brad is amazing. Every parent reports that not only do you know their child by name, but also that you have a personal relationship with each student. Many tell stories about inside jokes that you share with their child, highlighting the personal touch felt by these families. When we returned home, we sat down with our daughter and discussed what we had learned. She is really eager and ready to start her first year of school, and when we told her that she will also be learning Spanish, she was over the moon. Thank you for everything that you do for our students and teachers. Thank you for helping two nervous parents feel more comfortable and confident that they have made the right choice for their child. I am excited to spend the 2016-17 school year and beyond with Alturas Elementary. Best wishes, Amanda and Alex LaChance. So thank you, Principal Brad. And Amanda, it will be okay. We've all sent our kids to school. We'll have the first one leave the home. You'll survive.
All right, thanks for that. We'll go ahead and continue on now with the school report and turn the time over to Mr. Thad Biggers from Haley Elementary.
Good evening. Are we on? Is it on? Okay. I have with me fifth grade student Corbin Heitzman. I will introduce Corbin here in a minute. He has a very special presentation for you. A short PowerPoint with just a few of the highlights of Haley Elementary, some things that you may not have known, and some that you probably did. Just big picture kind of gives you an idea. The kind of logistics behind running a school every day. You can see we serve about 320 meals a day, which is about 54,000 by the time you come through the whole year. Secretary Jane, Princess Jane, she said doles out about 1,600 Band-Aids a year between her and the nurse and everybody else. You can see how much we consume in art. Website visits about 14,000 a year. We monitor that fairly closely. Our screenings, vision and dental in particular, and right now we're on track to use about 3,100 rolls of toilet paper this year. Just kind of gives you an idea. So the picture there at the bottom. At the start of the year, we asked each student to list one thing that inspired them. And we had them write it out, and then we took a picture of each student, and we put their picture and one thing that inspired them up there on a wall, and that's our inspiration wall. That picture there is about half of the inspiration wall, but if you're at the school, you'll see them all up there on the wall. Okay, our building's large. If you haven't been in the building, I would invite you to come tour the building. Large building, 94,000 square feet. 57 outside doors. At any given point, we have 462 students, plus our staff, so we have 500 folks in the building every day. Originally built as the high school, and then it became the middle school. I believe, not to call anybody out, but I believe Mr. Blackman taught when it was in the middle school back in the day, and then became the elementary. My pedometer tells me I average about 3.5 miles a day during the school day as I walk the building, so pretty consistently. So we have 67 staff. We on the whole are a veteran staff. We have some newer staff, but on the whole we're veterans, some of which have seen all of the changes over the years. One para in particular reported being there for the removal of 15 teeth. Why she has remembered that over the years or kept track, I don't know, but it was interesting. A little over 950 years of experience between all of us, and a warm, friendly, compassionate, hardworking group of folks. Okay. Our students are more diverse than some might think. There's a snapshot of some of our demographics there. We've run all year between 460 and 465 students, and you can kind of see the diversity of our staff. Of our students, excuse me. So, and in addition to our academic day, some of the other academic-oriented things that we do, we run a science night and a science fair, 2 separate programs. Homework club after school, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Our ski skate program, our robotics program, the chess club, and a current events club that's running right now. And again, we have a great group of students, a diverse group of students, and we work really hard to meet their needs every day. So if you have specific questions now, I'll take them. If not, we have a couple more things, and I can take them at the end. So there was a writing contest with Idaho Magazine, and a bunch of our fifth graders entered that contest. And our students got first, second, and third place in that contest. We actually had a tie for third, so we had 4 students, first, second, and 2/3. Some of the essays are quite long. Corbin's is the winning essay, and it's about 3 pages. So we have a short video for the second and third place winners to just talk about their essays a little bit, and then we'll stop. And I asked Corbin if he would come up and read his essay. It's quite good, and he can tell you about it and read it, and then we'll show you the rest of the video.
Hi, my name is Lucy Peach. My story is called The Trip. It's about a 6-year-old girl who has cancer. Her family suddenly decides to move to Idaho, but on the drive from Kansas, her tumor starts to act up. They rush her to a hospital. Annie chooses to see Baldy Mountain for the first and last time. She thinks it's beautiful. She watches the skiers go by and wishes she could do that. She closes her eyes and imagines the crisp wind in her face. The soft snow brushes her cheeks as she glides down the masterpiece. Annie never opens her eyes again.
Hi, my name is Lola Eicher, and I wrote The Elephant's Feet. It is a story about an elephant trying to save his land. Once he got to the outside world of Idaho, after he found help with the help of Becca, he saved it. A few years later, Becca came back, and Joseph the elephant and Becca got married. They lived happily ever after.
Hi, my name is Gina Greenberg, and I wrote a story called Strayed from the Herd. It is about a unicorn named Star who runs into the evil dragon named Evelyn. This story takes place in Rocktopia, which is now the city of rocks. In this story, Star's dad is looking for a new home. When he gets back, they all move to the Sawtooth Mountains and live happily ever after.
Okay, and it is my pleasure to introduce Corbin Heitzman, our winner.
My name is Corbin Heitzman, and my story is called The Troll and the Giant Hamster. It is about a troll and then a giant... It is about a troll and a giant hamster, and the troll bullies the giant hamster, so...
He's working on it as he speaks.
So the troll bullies the hamster, and the hamster builds a hamster wheel. And then the base of the story is about how the tectonic plates shift. And then for the contest, you had to add in an Idaho part. So then I added in the Idaho part about the earthquake that happened in, I think, 1983. So here's my story. 2 million years ago on Earth, there was a lush green jungle with big vines coming down from trees like huge snakes and large evergreens as far as the eye could see. In the jungle lived a giant hamster named Todd. Todd had huge black eyes, orange fur, a white chest, and a large heart. He was a lovely hamster and was nice to everyone. If anyone ever needed help, he was right there with them to help them solve their problem. But there was a troublemaker like in all stories. His name was Bernie. He was no regular troublemaker. He liked to be a flat-out bully. He was a mean old troll that liked to make animals feel bad about themselves. One day, Todd was helping one of his friends because his friend got a large sliver in his right foot, so Todd was pulling it out when along came Bernie. Todd had just finished pulling out the splinter when Bernie said, "Hey, Chubby, what are you doing over there?" Todd was really offended because he wasn't fat, he was fluffy. Todd just walked away from Bernie. Later that night, Todd was sitting in his room and thought to himself, "Maybe I really am fat." The next morning, the first thing Todd did was make a hamster wheel. He started to run on his new wheel. It worked like a charm. But then Bernie walked by and said, "Why are you working out? Is it because you're fat?" Todd quickly took his hamster wheel and left to get away from Bernie. So Todd went to a different spot. But everywhere he went, Bernie followed him around and made fun of him. Finally, Todd was sitting down and thinking of a way to work out without being made fun of. So So Todd decided to go down since he couldn't go up. Let me clarify. He decided to dig to the center of the earth. He would much rather fly, but since he's a hamster, he can't fly. Todd started to dig. He dug until he couldn't dig anymore. And that's the spot where he put down his hamster wheel and started to run. He ran and ran and ran, until he was running so fast you could no longer see his legs. The wind from the wheel started to move the big plates of Earth's crust above him. It was amazing. The plates were slowly shifting. After he had run for a few years, he was finally ready to show Bernie that he wasn't fat. When Todd came back up from the center of the earth, it was very hot since it was summer, so he decided to shave his winter coat. When Todd finally saw Bernie, he walked right up to him and said, "I told you I wasn't fat, it was just fluff." Bernie said, "I guess you were right, I'm sorry." Bernie walked away, never to be seen again. Todd was pleased, but something was missing. He really liked running, so Todd decided to go back down to the center of the earth and run. That's where Todd is today, still running and making the plates shift. Making the plates shift by the wind he's producing by running on his hamster wheel. But in 1983, his hamster coat got very thick, and his coat got stuck in the bracket and the wheel tipped over, and Todd went flying and landed on Idaho. It started to rumble, then Idaho was shaking like mad. Todd got all scared and flipped the wheel back up and stood on it, until the shaking stopped. After it stopped shaking, Todd climbed up a manhole to see Idaho. It was mass destruction. He felt so bad that he immediately went back down to the center of the earth and shaved his coat. But every once in a while, his coat grows out and gets caught in the bracket of his wheel, and he falls off and causes an earthquake. He tries to keep his coat thin, but it's just so hard for Todd to remember.
Yeah, so Corbin is in Mrs. Alexander's 5th grade class this year, and his essay and the others are a testament not only to the students, but all of their teachers that they've had over the years. So great job, Corbin, and appreciate it.
I just wanted to say, Corbin, did you know that there was a big crack in this building from that earthquake for a long time? Yeah, right through when you walk in the front door. There was a big crack that you'd have to, I mean, you know, not huge, but noticeable.
Excellent job. Thank you
Yeah,
very
thank
much.
you.
Congratulations.
Okay. So, and then we just have a few scenes here at the school.
Welcome to Haley Elementary.
You'll find me, oh, somewhere And the dream that you dare to, why, oh why can't
Video was put together by the After School Video Club under the direction of Sean Ross.
Excellent. Congratulations, Corbin. Excellent job, and good job on the presentation. I'll go ahead and open it up for questions, comments by the board at this time.
It was a great story. I enjoyed it.
So, all right, thank you very much. Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward now with our first section of public comment. And the first one that we have received is by Dr. Mary Gervasi, representing the Syringa Mountain School Parents and Board. And turn the time over for a 10-minute presentation.
Hold it up closer to your mouth. Just take it out of the stand. There you go.
Okay. My name is Dr. Mary Gervasi. I live at 73 Pioneer View Drive. There we go. In Haley, and I'm representing Syringa Mountain School. I'm here on behalf of the Syringa Mountain School families and our community supporters. I stepped in for Mindy Koblenz, Syringa's education director, who was unfortunately called away on a family emergency this morning. Could I just quickly ask our Syringa Mountain School board and families and staff to stand briefly so that the board knows who I'm representing? Thank you. Thank you for your willingness to come together to discuss this new legislation, House Bill 570, that provides us with this unique opportunity to consider a new relationship and partnership between us for the benefit of the children of our valley. We understand that you've scheduled a board work session on May 3rd to discuss this possible partnership in depth, and we're so grateful to have this opportunity to meet with you. And thank you, Dr. Holmes, and your administrative team for visiting our school last week. Our students are still chatting about the huge group of visitors that came to visit our school. Thank you so much. I hope this evening my comments will communicate our intention, which is to add value to the quality education programs already in place in Blaine County schools. We are interested in partnering to bring additional public education choices to our families. We're hoping that by partnering together, we can produce something even better and larger than what we could accomplish individually. And House Bill 570 paves the way for the impossible to now be possible, in our estimation. States are finding new ways to truly collaborate in the interest of bringing quality public school choice to all children. Other states are thinking outside the box to find new ways to embrace the excitement and creativity that both charter and magnet schools are bringing to the public education landscape. Here in Idaho, Blaine County Public Schools have for many years been applauded statewide for your quality and creative instructional practices. You have both been a leader and a role model for others in Idaho, and I know that personally from my tenure with the district. We see House Bill 570 as yet another opportunity for Blaine County to pave the way of innovation for Idaho schools. This past legislative session that just ended was hugely significant for public education in Idaho. lawmakers came together in many instances across party lines to support public schools and to push for innovation. But the most significant legislation we feel by far was the passage of the Local Innovation School Act, HB 570. The passing of the bill was a direct response to the recommendation issued by Governor Butch Otter's task force, which addressed the challenge to improve education, promote autonomy by removing bureaucratic constraints that prevent schools from innovating and excelling. The intent, clearly, of the law is to create the environment that will encourage and fuel public school innovation. Representative Wendy Horman from Idaho Falls sponsored the bill, and it passed overwhelmingly in both the House and the Senate. Horman said the bill is designed to foster innovation while allowing schools to be agile and adapt to their local circumstances. Under the bill, up to 10 schools a year would be able to apply for a waiver from the state for flexibility from laws or policies that impede autonomy or success. So, as we understand it, the law permits public schools and charter schools to collaborate to incorporate and model innovative education practices at the local level in exchange for receiving flexibility from laws and policies that could impede us. Under the law, schools would not be able to use the bill to opt out of Idaho Standards Achievement Tests, also known as Smarter Balanced Assessments. And additionally, schools would not be able to make changes that would jeopardize their accreditation status. Finally, participating schools would be bound by an agreement that includes performance goals and accountability metrics. This push for innovation in Idaho mirrors the same push for innovation we're seeing at the federal level with the signing of the Every Student Succeeds Act. This act calls on states to reduce barriers and provide operational flexibility for schools. Ultimately, the law's intent is to drive improvement in Idaho's public education system by allowing innovation to occur at the local level and with local control. The act requires that the school district board and the innovative school sign a compact delineating how the school will function within the district. This contract is for 3 years and renewable after that time. Syringa parents, board, and staff are eager to partner with Blaine County School District to carry out the mandate of the bill, and we feel we are an excellent choice in partners for many reasons. Humor me here. Syringa is an already proven innovative quality choice here in our valley, which minimizes the risk for the district in partnering with us. And we aren't going anywhere. You can count on us to be here. We have a quality staff, student body, and property in place. Not only are we proven, we presently have a waiting list of students choosing to attend our school. We are already successfully partnering with many established organizations in the Valley. We are using proven and popular methods for educating innovative and successful learners to meet the demands of their future. We have had a direct economic benefit on our community, not only with our jobs and infrastructure, but with the new families who continue to relocate to our valley, specifically to attend a public Waldorf school. And I just heard another example this morning that I have to share. I popped by the school for a minute, and one of our parent volunteers had given a tour to a family that from Israel. They have 3 children, and they found Syringa online while they were Googling public Waldorf schools while they were in Israel. And they were thrilled to find that there was one in Idaho. They have relatives living in Boise, and their children are presently attending a Waldorf school in Israel. So we have a number of examples of people choosing to move to our community because a public Waldorf school is being offered and is available. Just like the IB program, Waldorf education is a burgeoning international education model with over 1,000 schools around the world. And public Waldorf education's on the rise, not only in the U.S., but internationally. The Chinese government is launching their first international forum on merging Waldorf and public education in China this fall, and we've actually been invited to present at their conference. Our students in school would greatly benefit from integrating into the existing Blaine County infrastructure to streamline our operations and expenses, and to take advantage of the economies of scale that your district offers. Things like sharing transportation to be more family supportive, as well as reducing our carbon footprint and road congestion is just one example of what our partnership could bring to our families here in the Valley. Our school, as a school within the Blaine County School District, would receive comparable school funding. Presently, charter schools by law can only receive state funding, as you all know. We appreciate the very challenging situation the district and the board faces, and we'd like to be part of the solution. We know innovation is tough. It is especially tough for a large institution with its accompanying bureaucracy, demands from competing populations, state restrictions, and budget limitations. We also recognize this very real pressure from the state and our legislature to innovate. We understand the timing of our request is tough, but it is also timely in that our collaboration can benefit from the experience of the partnerships that have come before us in other states, and we feel we can do it right together. We can be part of the solution to concerns of fluctuating enrollment in the district. We offer a free alternative to those who might have otherwise considered a private school option. We offer an alternative for families who need a different delivery model for their children. I'm on the last page. Our school population currently supports the district with children attending Blaine County schools as well. And we are already serving Blaine County families with another public school option. This legislation has created a unique opportunity for both the Blaine County School District and for Syringa to carve out a new partnership for the benefit of Blaine County families and children seeking public education choices. It has always been the intention of Syringa to incubate this Waldorf methodology in a less constrained setting as a public charter school so that it could at some point benefit a larger student population. We believe our school and this partnership would bring value and innovation to the district and to our community in a new and unconventional way. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of the Syringa Mountain School families, board members, and staff. And thank you, too, for your dedication to this important work of educating our children.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you for your comments. All right, next up is Mr. Michael Beck, and if you'd like to go in the second section or first, let me know. Okay.
Good evening, Chairman Benyon, District Trustees, Dr. Holmes, District staff, fellow citizens. My name is Michael Beck, and as most of you or many of you might know, I have been serving on the Blaine County School District's Financial Committee for the past 2 years. I'm here tonight as a public citizen and a private citizen. My views tonight do not represent, I'm not speaking for the committee as a whole, I'm speaking as a private individual and a taxpayer and a citizen of the district. I want to start with just a few brief comments about the effectiveness of the committee itself. And last October, one of my fellow committee members, Lyman Drake, submitted some comments about the independence of the committee. And I'd like to quote a few of his comments to start. This was in regards to an ex officio designation as board liaison trustee. He says, this risk compromising, or at the very least appearing to compromise, the independence of our committee. Lyman goes on to say, a committee not perceived as totally independent may find its credibility with the other trustees undermined. Finally, we must be and perceived to be completely independent. I couldn't agree more. What I am here tonight is my concern with the way the district, the committee is constituted. We have district personnel serving on the committee with voting privileges. I believe we are not independent. as a committee. Now let me be very clear. My concerns with the Finance Committee are not personnel, but with structure. Finally, as a private individual and a private citizen, I'm here to recommend, we voted as a committee, but I am here as my personal opinion again, to say that I am, and I was opposed, and I'm still opposed to using the plant facilities levy funds for operational purposes. There were implicit and indeed maybe even explicit promises made to the taxpayers when that levy was passed in 2009. And finally, if appointed, the bylaws of the committee are such that I can serve, or any member can serve, for 3 one-year terms. I have served for 2 years. I want to say that I feel strongly enough about this that if appointed by Trustee Freund, I will not serve next year under this unless the constitution of the committee is changed and that the voting rights be restricted to only the public members. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comment. Next up, Miss Jamie Harding.
It was really hard to hear back there for the last comment.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to follow up on the calendar decisions made at last month's board meeting. It has come to the attention of many that when looking carefully at the 3-year calendar and specifically at the 2018-2019 calendar, the time designated for the winter break falls over 3 different weeks versus the typical 2-week Monday through Friday schedule. This leaves 2018-19 school year with 2 additional very short weeks. What's even more concerning is the idea that both the calendar committee and the board never saw a final draft of the 3-year calendar before making recommendations and final approval. In fact, it came as a surprise to many that this was in fact a vote for a 3-year calendar. Nowhere in the committee notes or in the presentation to staff or the board that I can find or recall was there mention of a 3-year calendar until it was up for approval. While this may have been assumed or an oversight, it's important to note that when making significant changes to systems, a reasonable time or trial period ought to be considered. At the very least, it should have been made very clear that this was to be a 3-year calendar. Amongst teachers, the most talked about change in the calendar has been the loss of our professional development. When looking back at the staff calendar survey, we were asked about the value of statewide professional development days in October. Many of our responses to this question were a direct result of the restricted access to statewide in-service opportunities in lieu of district-mandated in-services over the past couple of years. Teachers, in fact, were asked to withdraw their registrations and participation in statewide conferences 1 October, and very few were allowed to go the following October. This loss of autonomy in pursuing professional development opportunities certainly affects how they're valued. Not to mention, district-mandated in-services often do not meet the specific professional development needs of teachers. To limit teachers in their professional development pursuits is disappointing at best and disempowering to say the least. Professional development is essential to our profession. In fact, professional development is often a source of inspiration and always an opportunity to collaborate with other educators both in and outside our small valley. Many of the teachers I work with are disappointed to see our professional development days go away. I hope the district and board will recognize that teachers do value professional development and will consider some reasonable and fair solutions before another 3 years go by. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. All right, next up, Miss Marie Wolfram.
Good evening. I'm Marie Wolfram. I live at 217 North 5th Street in Bellevue, and I represent the Blaine County Education Association this evening. As the board and district look to cut approximately $1.3 million from their school budget, we ask that all district expenditures be put on the table. Dr. Holmes in the district has made it clear, it's in your board agenda packets, that they want to make sure that any cuts made have the least impact on classrooms and students. As you also move to renew admin contracts this evening, we ask that you consider admin benefit packages. It has come to our attention that the insurance plan negotiated by the BCEA for certified staff is also extended to admin and directors. What we recently learned is that this benefit is also extended to, at significant cost to the district, to spouses and dependents of admin and directors. This coverage includes 21 administrators and directors and approximately 27 dependents and spouses. The total cost to the district is approximately $33,000. While this may seem insignificant when cutting over $1 million, I ask, how many parapros would this be? When considering cuts, I ask that you consider all options. Covering dependents is not a benefit enjoyed by all employees of the districts. And in fact, it's really expensive for us to cover our own children if we were to buy our school district's coverage. And this is a cost savings that would have zero impact on classrooms. So I ask you to consider that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Looks like we'd had one more come up. And next up is Miss Barbara Browning.
I'm Barbara Browning. I live in Hewlin Meadows, 738 Paintbrush Lane. I'd like to speak to you this evening concerning the 5-year maintenance plan proposed to be funded by levy money. The levy was passed October 29th, 2009, amid promises from officials and board members that the money would be collected only if needed. That levy created a lot of controversy in our community. I have here a piece from October 23rd, 2009, an opinion piece written by Lyman Drake for the Mountain Express. It says, Idaho law imposes rigid constraints on school funding available for operations. We cannot increase those funds directly. We can, however, shift some expenses out of the operating budget and pay them from a different budget, the plant facilities levy. So now it appears that you're considering shifting costs again out of the general fund to the plant facilities levy money. However, that goes contrary to the promises made to the community. This is an article from the Twin Falls Times News, October 20th, 2009, talking about Blaine schools asking for $59.8 million levy. It lists the plans for the money, and then a quote from Mike Chatterton, the district's business manager, who says, the district will not build a new elementary school or expand the middle school if student numbers dip. But historically, school enrollment in the Wood River Valley increases during recessions. He goes on to explain why he thinks enrollment will increase. But he also says, if we don't need a new school, Even if we do need a new school, we'll hold off as long as we can, Chatterton said. But we're projecting we will need a new school by 2014. If we don't, we won't collect the $14 million we've earmarked for that school. We'll give it back. The school district has a history of being a good steward of money. Now, those promises were made. Right now, the levy money needs only one more year's tax collection to have the full $27 million available to repay the debt of $27 million. After that, no more big projects planned, no more need to collect nearly $6 million per year until someone came up with the maintenance wish list. I'm just asking you not to do a switch. Please don't destroy public trust by doing this. You can consider funding of each project as it comes to you for approval,
All right.
and that would be the wise way to proceed.
Thank you for your comments. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward now with the superintendent report and turn the time over to Dr. Holmes.
Thank you. I wanted to give you an update on where we are with advanced opportunities, specifically advanced opportunities at Wood River High School. Because when we're talking advanced opportunities across the district and working in district leadership team and with different buildings, we're really looking at trying to make sure that first and foremost our students leave elementary school reading on or above grade level so that they have access to advanced opportunity classes in middle school and high school. Advanced opportunity classes then in the middle school are taking classes such as honors and beginning to earn some high school credit, which many of them do through their world languages classes, and even some of them take Algebra 1 and get that credit in middle school. And then when we move into high school, when we talk about advanced opportunities, we're talking about honors again, and we're talking about advanced placement classes, or AP classes as they're more commonly known, and we're talking about dual credit classes where students are earning college credit at the same time that they're earning a high school credit towards graduation. We are tracking this in all of our schools, but all of our high schools. However, Wood River High School is the only one with a large enough population to really keep information on individual students confidential, so that's the one that we report on publicly. I want to make sure Kenny knows we're watching Carrie too, but to report individual numbers out to individual students. So we began an effort last year to start looking at who are in our classes and who are missing from these advanced opportunity classes. And we found one of the easy demographics to track is our Hispanic or our Latino students, and many of them were missing from these advanced opportunity classes. Another demographic that is often missing but very difficult to track, and because teachers are not supposed to have this data available to them and so forth and so on, is our free and reduced lunch kits. But if you look at our district demographics, and I'm looking for Marcia so she can confirm my talking off the top of my head, about 70% of our free and reduced lunch students live in our Hispanic demographic. So we've made that group a good proxy for the time being. We'll have to watch that because I'm sure it won't remain a good proxy forever, but for right now it's a good proxy on being able to quickly and easily monitor at the teacher level, the school level, the district level, are we getting more and more first-time students, students whose families maybe don't have a tradition or a history of taking advanced opportunity classes. Are we getting them into these classes, and then are they being successful? So you have the latest numbers from the end of the first semester. So now just instead of looking to see who's in those classes, we're also starting to look and see, are they passing these classes? And you'll see that we've had increases considerably in our dual credit classes, which is a very traditional trend all across the country. When you start working to get first generation students into advanced opportunity classes, they oftentimes start with dual credit. I've heard multiple reasons, and maybe some of the students can tell us their reasons. AP has kind of a myth to it. that sometimes scares people away. Dual credit is a secure credit if you go to school in-state, and oftentimes many of our first-generation students will go to school in-state, at least for undergrad, because of the economics of it, and so you know you have a secure credit if you get a dual credit in high school, where AP is not always a secure credit. It depends on the college on where you go. But you'll see some significant increases down there in dual credit and a little bit in the AP world. But I really want to point out what is happening in the science world, because they were one of the first departments that hit the radar screen for me last year, just because they had such few advanced opportunity in the whole department. And they have increased their opportunities. They're rotating back and forth every other year what's available. And as we heard earlier, they have added a dual credit chemistry class, and that's basically what that class is. If you look down on the dual credit part of the chart, you'll see that in the first semester there were 33 Hispanic students in that class, and the vast majority of them are passing that class. And so Lori's probably left, and I doubt if Matt Phillips is here, who's the teacher. But thanks to them for helping make that happen. And then also a huge thank you to Michael Sewell, who has been helping some of these students, and the Y Achievers. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Michael and some of her students who are going to share a GRIT class that not all of our students have been able to participate in this year, but a number of them have, to offer them support as they explore this new territory of advanced opportunities. So, Michael? You're going to have to take the mic out of the stand and pass it down to be heard.
I'm very proud of everyone here, all my students that are doing one of the lessons that I teach in the class, which is stepping into things that make us feel nervous and uncertain, which is one for me too, being here, so I'm trying to live as an example for them. So we started a class this year called GRIT, which stands for Growing Rigor, Initiative, Integrity, and Tenacity. And GRIT is a support class for students that want to take advanced classes, many of them for the very first time. The growth mindset is really the foundation of the class. It's what I introduce on day one, and then we continue to go back to over and over again. It's teaching them about how we can actually improve our intelligence, we can grow our intelligence, we can improve our habits, change our bad habits, and make more positive, healthy habits. It's a class that's open to all grades. It's an elective class. It's pass-fail. The requirement is that they must be enrolled in at least one AP, honors, or dual credit class. And the recommended GPA is 2.0 to a 3.5. And that's because we're not targeting students that are 4.0s that have done this all their lives and are used to it. We're trying to target first-time advanced opportunity students, students that want to challenge themselves, that are willing to work hard but might feel a little nervous or hesitant about venturing into such rigor. So this first year, we had 2 sections offered all year. First semester, we had about 37 students, and second semester, 32. I was very pleased to see 80% of the students continued from first semester into second semester. And many of them, if they couldn't even get into the GRIT class, they continued coming in for support, which I was so grateful for, during their free periods, during lunch, as my TAs. And the success rates for the class, these are very individualized, and I think it's important to notice that GPA is one measure of growth. But some students did raise their GPAs significantly. They all increased their rigor, but some of the growth isn't measured by a number. It's measured by working through a really challenging time in their lives and still coming to school, having a positive mindset, looking at their future in a new light for the very first time, perhaps. So the supports that the class provides, we teach, we have 5 hours a week, and 4 hours of the week are dedicated study time, and they get one-on-one support with me. I was an English teacher for years too, so I help them with a lot of their essays. But they also get time to work with other teachers. They make up tests. They prepare for their exams and their homework. And then 1 hour a week is direct instruction on a specific lesson. And these are whole group lessons, or I'll have guest speakers come in. But it's a chance where we go over these kinds of supports. The study time, first of all, is imperative that they have this during the school day. Many of these students work outside of the home, or they work outside of school. They take care of their siblings after school. They're involved in sports, so giving them a chance during the day. The AP classes, the dual credit classes, demand much more time, and so giving them that chance during the day is critical. The study skills, these are the traditional things I'll go over are test-taking strategies, time management. We go over Google Calendar, organization, note-taking strategies, things like that. But then success skills. Very first week, we talk about goal setting. We create vision boards. We think about their future and what it takes to get there. They prioritize tasks. They learn things like self-control and delayed gratification, the value of those. Communication was a big one, just learning how to take the initiative, how to reach out to teachers. We had like rehearsals of conversations at times of how we're going to go speak to this teacher that I'm terrified of or that I've never spoken to before. Going in and asking for help, asking questions, using the resources around them, just those soft skills that are so critical in them being successful in those AP classes, advanced classes. The college and career connections. Oh, sorry, one back. We had a chance to more individually look at their future careers with college and careers. Millie Reedy, the college and career counselor, came in and worked with them one-on-one. We did a lot more individualized attention to their schedules, thinking about which tests would be best for them, the ACT versus the SAT, setting them up, connecting them with the appropriate test prep areas. And then the social and emotional, the collaboration is also nice because being around like-minded individuals that are in a similar boat, I think was really helpful for them. They learned from each other. The older kids often gave advice for the younger kids, and they helped each other with their homework. But also being in that same boat of, I'm not sure if I can do this, but I think we can. It felt like a family, I think, by the end. And then the social and emotional piece, this one was huge for me because I really learned the power of relationships and the lives that these kids live. I have to be careful because I get all choked up, but learning them at a deeper level and what they are able to endure and get through, if we don't address those needs first, the academics really are secondary, and we're not even going to touch those. They're not going to care about their test-taking strategies if they're having a hard time getting out of bed and getting there to school in the morning. So a lot of the social and emotional connections that I made with them personally were very meaningful, but also connecting them with resources like our social worker and our counselors, and then having some group time where we bond and we feel like we're a community together was very helpful. I have a bunch of student testimonials. I also have a parent testimonial. I'll provide a copy of those for you, but I wanted to give them a chance to speak and just share from their heart what it meant to them.
Okay, so hi, my name is Diacelyn Reyes. I'm taking AP Spanish. It's my first ever AP class, and I'm the first to graduate in my family. So it's something big, and it meant a lot to my mom that I do. I challenge myself and I push myself to do better. Although like I have been through a lot in my life, as she is a single mom. I'm the oldest of 3, so I take care of my brother and my sister the most. My little sister calls me her second mom. So teaching how to potty train and all that was not easy, but taking this AP class and pushing myself even more was not easy either. At one point I went through a really dark point in my life where I just wanted to give up. College was not an option. Working was more just to like get away from home and escaping all the problems, getting into a lot of trouble. And grit, it helped me more with just finding the light and just communicating with teachers and people that want to see me do good and succeed. And although a lot had to do academically, it was also more personal, and it was something different. I've taken a past class before last year as a freshman, and it was nice. I had study hall time and an opportunity to do my homework, but the difference with grit is that it helped me socialize better with teachers. It pushed me to do a lot better with my grades and to just find ways to get to school, because I didn't go to school a lot, and it was really hard. And just having one-on-one conversations with Miss Sewell and her pushing me, if anything, and she told me that she just wants to see the good in me, and she just wants to. It's hard for me to talk about teachers because I don't really, they're just there to teach me. But Miss Sewell showed me that there's more to that the teachers want to see me do good, they want to see me graduate. Before I took this class, I didn't think I was going to want to go to college. And now I'm looking at my options, and the class has showed me all the opportunities that I do have and what I can do to better myself. And it's helped me a lot because I'm taking 9 classes right now, and I start working tomorrow. And it's going to be really hard, but although I couldn't be in grit anymore, I'm still taking AP class, but for me it was just better to have Miss Sewell one-on-one, and so I became her TA this semester. And that has helped me a lot because I'm more in a quiet space, and it helps me focus more. And with her help and all my teachers' help and all the opportunities I have, I'm definitely going to take advantage of them. And I'm grateful that I was able to take this class. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Kim Miranda. This year I'm taking AP Spanish, Honors English, and I'm taking 2 math classes. This year has been more difficult than last year. To begin my story, I guess, is I didn't really like homework or tests or anything like that, but I like just listening, I guess, to anything my teacher would say. It fascinated me to learn new things. In 7th grade, my mom passed away, and I decided, I don't know, I don't know what to do anymore. I didn't like school. I'd be okay with a D or a C or anything like that, anything related to that. So as I grew, I realized that there was other things I could do to learn more. And when I got to the high school, that's when my eyes really opened. I was like, wow, there's so many things here that I can learn and grow as a person. And 10th grade was when I really started to push myself. I took AP Spanish, and I took the class Grit, which I met Miss Sewell for the first time, and she told me, it's your first time taking an AP class. Your brothers and sisters, they didn't take AP classes. My parents didn't graduate, so I'm like, okay, yeah, this is going to help me grow as a person, as just reach the goals I was going for. When I'm in the class of Grit, I usually try to finish all the work that I don't have at my house. My house is very difficult to work at. I can't concentrate very well, and I think it's just a place where I'm able to connect with teachers, which is really great. I love all my teachers. Miss Sewell has helped me create really great bonds with all of them, and especially her. And as she said, she's an English teacher. That's helped me incredibly with my English essays, because I guess those are one of the hardest things for me, just trying to get my ideas organized and she's helped me in so many different ways to grow as a just writing my essays. And not just that, my other classes, they've become more difficult as the year has gone by, but I think I've grown more. Last year I was doing very well at school, but by the end I was sort of giving up. I was like, tests, finals, I'm like, it's almost over. This year I feel more motivated, I guess. I feel like I can finish everything with a good end. Grit has helped me learn more about teachers, about myself and everything else, especially there's guest speakers who come by, and they've all really shown great things in me. Like Mr. Blackman came and talked to us, and it was really great to hear his story, because it kind of shows us all that we can start at any point in the pyramid, and you can go anywhere. And so I think this class has really influenced me to like not give up and not to be a conformist and not stay at whatever level I think I can, because I can reach anything I want. Even if I'm a woman, even if I'm a Hispanic, even if I'm anything, I think it's really shown a great part in me to shine out here. So thank you.
Wow.
All right, so my name is Mike Marquez, and I'm on the same boat as her. I'm taking AP Spanish, Honors English, and I'm enrolled in 2 math classes. And, you know, the funny part about this is that I still remember when we were registering for school, I saw the classes I was going to have, you know, and it said grit, and I'm like, what the heck is grit? You know, I had no idea what it was. I was just like, I wonder, I'll just try it out. I'll just try it out. That's how I thought. And so in 9th grade, I guess I didn't put in as much effort into my academic work as I should have. And I didn't let myself realize my potential. And so that's why once my freshman year was over, I was truly upset with the way things turned out, because I knew I had more to give. And so that's when I started considering, you know what advanced classes or what like high classes can I take to make me look good? You know? Yeah, you know, you messed up your first year, you might as well try to make yourself look great the next. And so I had a debate inside my head. It was, should I take 2 math classes or not? And I ended up feeling pretty confident about it. I was like, okay, I'll do this. And then so as that registration day came, I saw Kim, and interestingly, she told me, "Hey Mike, are you going to take 2 math classes like you said you would?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so. I'm too scared. I'm too scared to fail." And so, as the school year was in session, I guess I was introduced to grit, and I learned what it was all about. And so, the pressure was really on, because we had like 5 days to decide to change any classes that we didn't like. And so Ms. Sewell explained the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, and that really stuck with me. You know, a growth mindset basically is a mindset that tells you, you know what, you're where you're at because you choose to be there. Nobody else put you there. You got to hold yourself to the fire. And basically, as you guys could imagine, a fixed mindset is basically someone who thinks, oh no, it's not my fault. It's the teacher's fault. You know, maybe I'm not so smart. Maybe college, maybe school just isn't the thing for me. And so after I started to wrap my mind around the concept of a growth mindset, I asked Ms. Hu, I was like, should I do this? Should I take dual math classes? And so she was like, yes, of course, you got this. And remember, I had a little bit of doubt because last year, yeah, Yeah, you guys seem to remember that part. And so, yeah, so right there, basically what happened is I talked to my teachers, and good, everything got fixed. I decided to take 2 math classes, and let me just tell you, it's a great decision. And also, honors English, that was also the sort of same situation. I wasn't sure about it, but at the end, I did end up taking it. And so, I want to read to you guys my quote. And it says that this is not a study hall for me. It's my opportunity for a future I am proud of. And the reason I say that is because this class, Grit, has truly given me all the tools that I need to be a successful student and a successful person outside of the classroom. You know, and although, thank God, I did raise my GPA up, I did all these great things. You know, that was all great. Those are things I'm proud of. But I'd say the better thing for me that I truly was able to take from this class is that it established a strong work ethic for me. And so, and that's the case for everyone in that class. So it doesn't matter where you end up after graduation, because you've already developed those skills and habits that are going to lead to a happy and successful life. And so, yeah, it's been a great class. I'm so proud I took it, and yeah, it's amazing.
So my name's Natalie Garcia. I'm taking college English and AP Spanish. Grit, it's like the best class because taking both advanced classes are not easy, and especially for me, I have to work after school, and like I help my mom out if she needs something, and Grit just gave me that time that I needed to do my work, and Miss Sewell helped me out with my essays, and I remember this one essay, it was about SNS, social media, and I just, I thought it was pretty easy because I use social media, but once me and Miss Sewell sat down, we saw that there's more to it, that pictures show more than normally we see. And what I got on my grade for my essay, I was shocked. I got a 94 out of 100, and it was one of the highest ones in my class. And I didn't think it was possible because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, college English, if I pass, I pass. If I fail, it's whatever. But, I mean, Ms. Sewell has shown us that pushing yourself is the best thing to do just for you. And, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm so happy for Grit. It's just great to take, and it helps people out when they need it. And Miss Sewell's just there for you, when like if it's academic or personal, because we did bond at the beginning of the school year with Chris Herron, and we all got to know each other a little more. And yeah.
Thank you for coming and sharing your stories with us. But I think the real heroes in the room are you, each of you individually. The teachers are certainly there to help you and support you, but you're the heroes in the room. So thank you. Mrs. Sewell, I think Trustee Corker has a question for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to know logistically a couple of things. So I put down some of the numbers. So there's 45 next year signed up.
Yes.
Is that right?
Preliminary numbers.
Okay. And just describe a little bit. It's 5 hours a week, so it's one class?
It's a class, yeah.
One
It's
class.
One class, like a regular class that would meet. We have block periods, so it's 5 hours. We meet 4 days a week, and one of those is an hour and a half long.
Okay.
And the other are 50 minutes.
So it's going to be you and 45 kids?
Two sections.
Two
typically.
sections. So an hour and an hour, or, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And are you an English teacher as well?
I've been an English teacher for the last 15 years or so I have that background.
Okay, but this is what you're doing full-time?
I'm doing this and Gifted and Talented.
Okay. So you have 2 of these classes, 45 kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the last question is there a waiting list?
Not yet. but hopefully soon.
Yep.
Hopefully
Yep.
it'll be growing.
Yep. And do you feel like most of your friends know about this class?
I think we've been trying to get our friends informed about the class, and it's helped us a lot.
Especially Right.
freshmen that want to challenge themselves. Like, I didn't think I was going to take an advanced class, but seeing all the freshmen coming in that want to take advanced placement classes, us or like anybody else that's taking grit, try to reach out to them the most and be like, it's possible, you can do it, no matter the obstacle. Like, we're examples, like we've been through a lot, and we all have conquered whatever struggles we've gone through, and we're doing a lot better academically.
That's great. And are you getting up in front of the student body and saying this as well? Is this kind of presentation that's so motivational? You should be a motivational speaker, all of you. Is that being presented in front of the student body?
Well, we started by going around, because it's just the first year, we started by going directly to the AP classes. Like last year, that's where I went when kids were signing up for and having their initial meetings about this AP class that they were going to take. That's where I showed up and started promoting this new course. And so similar types of efforts can probably start happening with the students.
Something that I'm thinking of is maybe going to the middle school with a targeted group of students and having some of you people speak to them.
We think it's a possibility.
Would be an awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
You're
Thank
all
you
very inspirational.
Thank you all for your courage for coming up and sharing your stories.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you
was
for
great.
opening up to us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, next up is Ms. Debbie Butnick with the National Autism Awareness Month.
Good evening, Board. Thank you for your time. April is National Autism Awareness Month, and each April, people across the nation and the world make efforts to bring awareness, understanding, and acceptance of autism to others. To better understand autism, consider the following information. Autism and autism spectrum disorder are general terms to describe a complex disorder of brain development. Although autism is different for each individual, one can generally expect that the following areas may be impacted. Social interactions with others. Sometimes that's verbal communication, sometimes that's nonverbal communication. Additionally, for some students, there may be repetitive behaviors. There may be resistance to change or routines, and there may be extreme sensitivity to sights and sounds of the environment. Recent studies tell us that 1 out of 68 children in the United States are diagnosed with autism, more boys than girls. And the increase in autism in Blaine County has increased as well as it has across the nation. So what causes autism? Scientists believe there's no one single cause. Rather, it's a combination of risk factors, genetic and non-genetic. But one aspect that we all agree upon is that early intervention is really important. But perhaps one of the best things I heard about autism was something I just read today by Dr. Barry Prezant, who in his book called Uniquely Human, talks about some of the behaviors of individuals with autism. You know, those things like resistance to change, or sometimes there's some repetitive behaviors such as jumping or flapping arms. He says that maybe those behaviors are really, truly human behaviors. Think about that for a moment. Have you ever had a moment when you were resistant to change? What did that look like for you? Or did you ever sit in a football game and see kids, adults, jumping up and down and maybe flapping their arms? I think we have. Dr. Prezant says that maybe this gives us a chance to look at autism as something that doesn't have to be fixed, but rather is as a continuum of humanity. So as we deepen in our acceptance and understanding of autism, take a moment and walk in the shoes of others who experience autism. Together, let's build our awareness and acceptance. So tonight we have some special guests. We have Dakota Ratcliffe, a Wood River High School graduate, and we have Juan Rodriguez and Lisa Gonzalez, who are parents of Julian.
Greetings. My name is Dakota Ratcliffe, as you already know. Excuse me. First, I'd like to get a show of hands. Anyone ever been struck by lightning? I take that as a no.
There's one person.
Oh, impressive. So if you can imagine, getting struck by lightning is kind of a shocking experience, which is pretty much how I felt when I was in high school and was told that I was going to be thrown to the wolves after my last year. Back in high school, I had very little support, not because the school system was horrible. It was actually one of the best I've been in. But here on the outskirts, outside of big cities, most people don't know how to handle autism. But this district has done great with that. But some of the things that identified me as having autism was I was always looking down at my shoes constantly. Every time someone would say something to me, I'd look down and say, "Where are my shoes?" All I really wanted was to go from point A to point B and get where I was going real quick. All I really wanted to do was just finish school. And nowadays, I'm a productive member of the community, and I'm riding the bus system, cooking my own food. Am I reading that right? It says here somewhere I do my own laundry. Interesting. But yeah, I'm now a productive member of the community, and I do all those things, and I also own my own business doing photography. I have business cards with me if any of you would like any. So yeah, that's me, who I was, and who I am now.
Dakota, you're also a national speaker. Confess.
Indeed. Some of the awards I have are, I was the first place award for the Idaho Council on Developmental Disabilities Inclusion Video Challenge of 2014, the CEC Council for Exceptional Children 2014 Yes I Can Award for the entire state of Idaho. The same award for the National Award in San Diego, California in 2015. I've also received my Voice 2 graduation certificate, Vocational Occupational Independent Career Education, and I received my 2015 high school diploma.
Hi, my name is Lisa. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. We're here to talk about Julian. And okay, so I'm here to say what it looks like, what autism looks like in our family. Julian struggles with lots of anxiety. Communication is difficult for him. When he gets dysregulated and he has a meltdown, it can be challenging to find tools that help. The tools that Julian uses can include screaming, crying, hitting, and running away because he can't tell us what is wrong. Some things that have helped us find tools include hands-on experience with trial and error, teachers and parapros who are trained and experienced, and for the first time in a long time, Julian actually likes going to school. He's eager to get out the door and very happy to see the parapro when the bus arrives every morning. We have had success through exposing Julian to situations with peers who have fully accepted him for who he is. I'd like for others to appreciate and understand Julian. Here's a little bit about him. He's very lovable, and he is sweet and loves to be hugged. He's our gentle giant. He enjoys being around his brothers, peers, and cousins. He likes to go for long car rides. He can carry harmony and sing songs. He's very organized and likes his things in order. He likes to help his dad with chores, and he absolutely loves Higher Grounds recreation programming for people with disabilities. I look at Julian and I see strength and love in his eyes and see he hasn't given up. And what I'd like to ask is if you can, we wish that those people who are not familiar with autism keep an open mind. We wish others to understand that we are not bad parents, and he's not a bad child. We're doing our best to parent him like any other child. We need parents and teachers to help educate other children to accept people with differences. We need continued support from our community for Julian to be as successful as he's shown us he can be. Julian is kind of a big deal to us. This is just a glimpse of what life looks for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time. I hope you can see that the folks that we have here tonight are speaking from their heart, and we are happy they're part of our community.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Tough to follow, Kenny. I don't know how you're going to do it.
Neither do I. Is it working? Can you guys hear me good? No, thanks, Sean. Starting with Wood River High School, April 12th was their ISAT and SAT testing for underclassmen. As well on April 12th, there was the Seniors Service Day, where they participated in a variety of community service projects. Many were in conjunction with nonprofits in the area. And this was actually a first time for the Wood River seniors, and it was a great success for them, as expressed to me by Carol. April 16th was their senior prom, and lastly, on April 25th, next Monday, they will be holding their local scholarship award ceremony. Moving on to Silver Creek. Silver Creek High School on April 13th had their senior breakfast. On May 11th, they're having their internship mentor appreciation night. And lastly, Silver Creek, they're holding their prom on May 20th. Now, Cary. April 9th, we had our junior-senior prom. April 20th, we are having the state district parent meetings. April 29th is the student body officers mandatory campaign meeting for next year. And May 2nd, we are having the American Fidelity meeting will be held, and both elementary and high school staff will be attending that. And lastly, on May 4th, Cary High School will be having their Star Wars Day. That's it for the.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Ken.
Thank you.
So, all right, as far as announcements go, we have a few State of the District community meetings coming up on Wednesday, April 20th. Tomorrow we'll be down at Cary. Thursday, April 22nd, we'll be at the Community Library in Ketchum. Monday, April 25th, we'll be at the community campus. Wednesday, April 27th, will be at Alturas Elementary, and I believe that meeting will be held in Spanish, with English interpretation for that one, for those who would like it. The Wellness Committee meeting that was announced on the agenda is going to be determined. They've had a few conflicting dates
Next.
set.
Oh, the Tuesday following that is what it's.
So, and then the
Sorry, but isn't April 22nd Friday, not Thursday?
I would have to look at a calendar. That's yes, it is. So thank you for that clarification. So Friday, April 22nd. Appreciate that. All right, and then the Policy Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, April 20th, 4 to 6 p.m. here at the community campus. The Finance Committee will be meeting Tuesday, April 26th, 4 to 6 here at the community campus. And Tuesday, May 10th, will be our regular May meeting of the Board of Trustees here at 6 p.m. As Dr. Gervasi mentioned previously, the board is going to have a work session on May 3rd, and we will be going over the Seringa Mountain School request for the Innovative School Agreement and diving more into the details as far as what the implications for the district and what kind of agreement or arrangements can be made, so we can have a deeper conversation and better understanding of any implications prior to a decision being made. No decision will be made at that board work session. So I believe that concludes the chair report, and we'll go ahead and move on with continuing business and ask Mr. Howard Royal, the Director of Buildings and Grounds, to come up. And I just wanted to get this on the agenda so the board could have an opportunity to discuss prior to a decision later on in this meeting. So I'll go ahead and open it up to the board for discussions, questions, comments at this time.
You want to review?
Certainly.
Sure. So the last time I was here, I referenced an analogy to a car, buildings, or a car, and it's probably a little overly simplistic, but I think it's a good reference. Everybody knows a car requires regular maintenance, filter and oil changes, keeping the tires inflated to proper pressure. There are intermittent requirements for your car. If you drive it long enough, it's going to need new tires or maybe seat covers. At some point, you're going to have unexpected events, failures, water pump, maybe a seal, some electrical or electronic issues, and in Idaho, likely a windshield. We do receive mandates. We've received mandates from the Department of Building Safety with regard to eyewash stations, and the City of Haley has also required that we provide backflow devices on all of our incoming water lines now. That's not something we sought out. They came to us and told us that we needed to provide these. Some of the water lines coming into the schools are huge, so it's going to be a reasonably expensive endeavor. If you keep your car long enough, you're going to have to put in a motor or a transmission. John Blackman drives a 50-year-old Cadillac. I'm sure he could probably attest to that. But there are things, and all these things apply to our buildings. Just by virtue of the square footage, we have about 875,000 square feet of buildings, and there are always items that are coming to the forefront. We have some sidewalks that need attention. This building particularly, there are some areas that truly need the sidewalk replaced. We have roofs that succumb to the winters. We have carpet that wears out. We have boilers that corrode, and we have some asphalt that's failing. So these are all expected, but there are items that come up on a regular basis. So since I put the 5-year plan together, we've discovered a soft spot up at Hemingway in the roof and the south wing up there that's going to need to be addressed pretty quickly. The maintenance supervisor came in today and told me that we need to check the stacks on the boilers up at the high school, that they're looking pretty poor, and then we're looking at upgrading a dust collection system for the residential academy to keep the air quality in that classroom at a good level. So we're going to plug these into the 5-year plan. Some other things are going to have to move over. So one of the other things I stated last time, that we're very lucky to have our heating and ventilation systems at the current level that they are. So a lot of school districts are always struggling with their HVAC systems. The work that we did a few years ago probably has us at a lot more fortunate place in time than they are. So the 5-year plan, I don't know if you guys have all been through it or not. One of the things I think we need to realize, though, is that we do need to not fall behind on our upkeep. So the district's always been pretty vigilant about making sure that that we don't get behind on that, so that we're not playing catch-up. I did present to the Financial Advisory Committee, and I do believe they understand the importance of keeping up with the maintenance of its investments in both the buildings and the grounds. The committee as a group did approve the concept of utilizing plant facility levy resources to help offset the funds from the general fund that can be utilized in the classroom instead. If you look through the plan, I don't think you'll find anything that's to be considered frivolous. There are a number of these buildings that are 50 years old. They've already had the carpet replaced once or the roof replaced once. So I hope that the board understands the importance of being vigilant about trying to stay ahead of the curve, however it's funded. Thank you.
All right, appreciate it. Any questions, comments, discussion? Trustee Corker.
So it's just a matter of priority. It's going to be a cost shift no matter what, because we have a certain amount left in the levy. We've made promises to return $14 million if that's not used for a new school, if a new school is not needed and a new school is not needed. So what's left out of that is, as I understand it, and I've brought this up before, 4.5 is, I think, is the amount in the technology, and then there's about 1 million extra. So I'm just wondering, where are we going to get the money for Howie if Howie's needs are bigger than technology and the 1 million?
Yes. Mike, if you wouldn't mind stepping.
Okay. Let me explain this a little bit. There's a lot of misconceptions out there about what I've said in the past and what we're actually doing with this plant facility levy money. If you look at that, I'm not intending to spend plant facility levy on the building itself.
Okay.
What the intention is there's funds available in the plant facility levy that's not budgeted for any type of a purpose. So, for example, interest earnings that we're making on all of our investments that are sitting there, about $20 million. We're earning about $200,000 to $225,000 a year in interest earnings, and that's not earmarked for any specific purpose to be spent on. So what we're looking at is how can we utilize plant facility levy money that we were planning on spending 6 years ago that's not going to be spent now, additional money that's coming in from interest earnings, from penalties and interest coming on from delinquent taxes. How can we help the general fund out and cover some of those costs on the 5-year maintenance plan without affecting what the promises we've made with the community? And that's what the Finance Committee voted on the last time, is not to hand tie the board and say this money has to come out of technology, but give the board the discretion on using funds that will be coming into the plant facility levy instead of having the general fund pay for these expenses.
Okay, so we have a promise to repay $14 million back to the public. We have a promise to do that. So those are restricted funds. So we have a certain amount left, and it includes what's earmarked and has not yet been spent, plus interest earnings that didn't show up in the original plant and facilities levy components. Right?
Yes.
Okay, so my concern is, where is Howie's money coming from in terms, just show me, like, where is it coming from? Here's the pile, the $14 million is restricted, so there's this much left, and it's going to have to come out of, technology or somewhere else. This is a big amount.
Not necessarily. It'll come out of a lot of different sources. It could come out of many, many different sources. We had money set aside to make sure that we had all of our buildings LEED certified. We're not going to be doing that. So there's money set aside for those things. There's a lot of money. We have money that we had set aside that we were going to do trash compactors, big trash compactors at both the high school and the middle school. That's not going to happen. So what we're looking at is taking those funds as well as the interest that are not budgeted as revenues for future years and using that money to help supplement those 5-year maintenance plans.
Okay, and how much is that? So in other words, you're saying that there's a certain amount of money that we're not spending on lead and we're not spending on this, plus there's a bunch of money from interest, plus there's, just show me, because the last time I asked, we have basically 19.1, of which 14 is restricted, right? So we have 19 point, or approximately, that's what you said last time. So 19.1 minus 14 is 5.1. So we have 5.1 to spend. Howie's request is 3.1. So then we're left with 2 million.
But what you're missing is the money that we will earn in the future on our investments and the property taxes that are getting paid late that we're going to collect penalties and interest on.
So those are going to amount to $3 or $4 million.
No, I don't think they'll be that much, but they'll be $1 million. That'll be $200,000 a year just on the interest earnings on those investments.
Right. So I need to see it all penciled out before I can vote on it. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm voting on. Exactly. I can't see where all the money is and where is it coming from and where is it going to.
Basically, Mike, what I'm understanding you're saying is that we can still fulfill that promise made to the community as far as returning that 14 million, or not collecting, excuse me, not returning, just not collecting that 14 million if we don't need a school, but yet there would still be funds sufficient to take care of the technology and different things that we still are planning on doing with the plant facilities funds, as well as to do the 5-year maintenance budget as stated.
I'm not saying that there's enough money to cover all of the 5-year maintenance plans, but it will cover a lot of the maintenance plans that are coming forward, especially the high needs plans, until we can have some other solution to come up with how are we going to do these types of things for the 5-year plan. The number that I'm telling you as far as the amount of money that's left over in a plant facility levy, that changes all of the time. I mean, we're always earning interest on those investments that are getting accumulated into that account. So I can give you an idea of what that amount is. Over the next 5 years, if you take $200,000 a year in interest earnings, you're going to make about $1.2 million on that. The amount of money that we will collect on penalties and interest over the next 5 years for delinquent taxes are paid are going to be about another $150,000. And then the rest of the money is going to be money that's set aside in the plant facility levy that we're not going to be spent anyway. And that's many different areas of there, whether it's the LEED certifications, whether it's sprinkler systems that were identified that have already been taken care of, that came in much less. There's a lot of different areas that'll.
Okay. I guess, I don't have a concern so much as to, and here's the list. This was the original plant facility levy components. So if there are things that have not been spent, that's fine by me. My biggest concern is betraying the public trust on the 14 million. So I want to make sure that we're understanding each other and that you're making that promise and that's not interfering with this. Is that how we're understanding each other?
I've already made the promise many years ago.
Okay.
If it gets broken, it will be the school board that does that because it will be your decision not to do that.
So you're saying you're holding $14 million over here, so that will be returned to the taxpayers because we will not be needing it. I mean, unless we grow 500 kids in the next, or 400 kids in the next 2 or 3 years. And you are assuring me that we have enough money to pay for what Howie wants out of the plant facility levy components that haven't yet been spent, but that the 14 million will be honored.
You're not listening to what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that we don't have enough plant facilities levy to cover all of the expenses on that 5-year plan that you're looking at. But we do have the funds available to cover the major portions of that 5-year maintenance plan.
And
The
some
rest of it will have to come either on the next plant facility that's levy that's passed 5 years from now, or some other source of funds.
And in looking at things as well, I'm looking at the Wood River Middle School right now, and on here they have to replace the metal halide lighting with T8 or LED technology. And the metal halides, they're functional, they're just not as efficient, and some of those things we can postpone if we absolutely have to, and that's going to be a give and take on these funds. But I think it behooves us as a board to definitely honor that, but take and prioritize this list, and I know Howie will be working on this, to do the things that are absolutely critical first and foremost, and then things like the lights that, yes, we can do. Does it make sense to do it now? Does it make sense to do it later? A lot depends on the electrical rate and the return on investment for those projects, because a lot of those projects have a return of investment of under 2 years.
So we're cost shifting, which is not a problem in my book. If there are things on this original list that we didn't need as much as we thought that we needed them, oh well, now Howie has a new list. So the only thing that I want to make absolutely clear is that $14 million is restricted, and this is not coming out of that. Is that true?
I think that's a board decision, not up to Mike Chatterton, and that's up to us as a board how we want to do that. And I feel a strong commitment to honor that promise that was made.
Okay, that has to be part of, to me, that has to be part of this, because otherwise I don't know where this is coming from, and I'm afraid that we're going to betray that promise.
So I think we need to make a motion
Yeah.
that says to that effect.
When we get down to the decisions portion of the agenda, I think a motion
We can
would be...
reprioritize some of these things to make sure that the important, essential things get done.
Yeah.
The roof doesn't fall down or...
And I just want, the main thing here is that it's a long-term making sure that we have the trust of the public. Because sure, we could cost shift and take money out of the promise. That would be, that in the long term would bury us, because it would be a long time. I mean, I can't imagine when we'd be able to get the public trust back. That's my only reason for saying, for going this far. So thank you.
Further comments, discussion?
I just want to comment that, having this, laundry list of things to do that maybe we don't need to commit to that, it's really good to know that these are upcoming things, to, include in every budget year that we have, that we know that these are upcoming things, and that there's things that we're protecting in the future. But to actually commit to $3.1 million during our budget talks right now just seems, I don't know, irresponsible, I think, to really commit to something that we can address each year and just, take these issues as they come and address them as it comes along. I just don't think committing to $3.1 million is the best thing to do. So.
Am I understanding that you'd rather address them year by year and put them toward the plant facilities fund year by year rather than lump sum? Is that my...
Well, I'm not saying that, we use the plant facility fund, but, if I think that would be more of what we would want to do, since they are, building issues. And that's my understanding of the plant facility fund, is for those kind of issues. But I just don't feel comfortable committing to $3.1 million and having that there, because things change, needs change. We might need a new middle school, I mean, our middle school is at max right now, so just committing to something when we have a lot of unknowns still hanging about.
Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Holmes.
That's why I think I would recommend that in your motion that you're very clear that this is what you want to do, that plant facilities money that was designated for a school is not a part of this, because you have not yet in this round of financial planning had the conversation about schools, the need for schools, no need for schools, anticipated growth, not anticipated growth. And I know why you're bringing up the middle school, because you're very familiar with it. Mr. Pierce is sitting there wondering how he's going to put 900 kids in that building next year. So I would, if that's something you want to protect, I'd make sure that you include that in your recommendation, because that is a conversation that needs to be had as we go through this year of financial planning. And
do we have any projections for enrollment at the middle school?
For next year?
For the next few years?
We have projections for next year, and we will be talking later after probably this summer, starting to extrapolate, because we've been growing at 1 to 1.5% a year. So if we go with the very bare minimum, we can extrapolate that out and see what it looks like.
Yeah.
So
just because I know that anybody who's been at the middle school and hears how the classrooms are filled to the max and every classroom is being used, I feel that we need to have a conversation soon about what's going on at the middle school. I know that the high school has room for growth, but middle school we're pretty tight on room, it sounds like. And
actually, the high school, I believe, I'm looking at Mr. Chatterton so he can check my knowledge here. The high school, the common areas were built for 1,200 students, but the classroom spaces were built for 900,
right,
which we will be over 900 next year. But we also know what's coming at us in the other grades, and we'll have a little bit of a reprieve when our primary grades get up there, but we don't anticipate that our enrollment will remain small at the primary grades forever, because that's a function of the birth rate 5 years ago in the recession, and we know that birth rate's coming back. So that's a long conversation for another night. So, but yeah, we do need to look at that, because you're right. Don't go to the middle school during passing period, or stand to the side, one or the other.
All right. Further comments?
Well, I think that there's a couple of motions here.
Well, we're not.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll be glad to entertain those motions in the decision portion of the agenda. This is the
We should be
only in
thinking about them,
discussion.
because it's going to take a while. Yeah.
Start right now.
That's right. So, okay, and then item B, funding for cobblestone sidewalk and crosswalk, and Dr. Holmes, would you like to update the board on that?
Earlier this year, you guys agreed to provide $52,500 to the city of Haley for helping with the cobblestone project. However, the motion that you made included a memorandum that when that property that currently is not developed is developed, that there would be a repayment of those funds from the people that are putting in, the developers who are putting in sidewalks. I'm looking at you, so you can tell me if I'm getting this wrong. Then we began to work on that MOU. The city's attorney did some research and decided that that was not possible to have such an MOU. However, we also now have some real hard numbers that we can talk about, and so we know that the crosswalk alone, which is the concern that has been expressed at this table, that goes from Albertsons across the street, so to speak, is where we have had middle school children hit there, and we do, I found out, have had in the past crossing guards there, but we don't always have staff members who are willing to take on, even though we pay them extra for that duty, so sometimes that's hard to even find a person to be the crossing guard. That is our most concerning area, and now that we have some hard numbers, we are aware that the crosswalk itself is $54,550.02. Don't know how they came up with the 2 cents, but that's what it says. And so since your motion that you voted on last time does not stand as far as what the attorneys are agreeing we could do, the city is back tonight asking for a new motion that makes it possible for them to have that money from the school district to spend purely on the crosswalk and no sidewalks involved. Did I get it all?
Further comment, discussion by the board?
The city will do the sidewalks. We'll do the
So
crosswalk.
how much more is it from what my documents are coming in?
The actual cost of the, we committed last time, so we have to recommit that since the last motion is not valid.
So we just need to recommit
Commit
this
that,
amount.
and
The
for the
52,
purpose
fine.
of a crosswalk, unless you want
Or
to
52.
get into the sidewalk business, which was the concern the board had before, was getting into the sidewalk
Right.
business.
I was going to say,
But the
And then-
crosswalk is what we determined would be the most.
And then the
Decentralized.
grant that the city was able to get from, and then also city monies would pay for the sidewalks. So, did I get that right?
my opinion.
Do you want to come add to that? We have,
My initial thinking is, we're not in the sidewalk business on city property, but I think that we do have a responsibility to our students and to our community to be able to get our kids to school safely. So I would be comfortable moving forward with this, with that money being in the motion for the installation of the crosswalk. Trustee
Sorry.
Corker.
I'm fine with that too. I also would like to stipulate that there is a crossing guard going to be there. And we talked about that the last time. It's not that expensive, right?
no, it's not the funds that is the problem, because, and I'm looking at Mr. Peters, I think in the past they had monies, and they still have monies, where they can pay a staff member, just like Haley Elementary does, a stipend or extra hours or whatever, however it works. Are they classified, so it'd be an hourly, to do the crosswalk. The problem is finding the people to do it. We will certainly try to find people to do it,
Yeah.
but that's not always something that people want to add on to their day.
Okay, so the crossing guard down at Haley, is that a member of the staff at Haley?
Yes.
Okay, and that's somebody who works during the day at the building?
Right,
And
and
then
they
leaves
just
the building?
picks up a little extra income doing that.
Okay, so why, and obviously you're not paying for a certified staff to do that job. So at the middle school, what I'm hearing is you've got a very similar situation, but for some reason, the staff member that would be charged with doing that is saying that they won't, or something. I'm not sure.
It is
what's going on.
outside of their workday, so it's additional work, and it's not a staff member, it's any staff member that wants to take that on for
Well,
the
there
additional pay.
okay. Well, at Haley Elementary, it's designated, someone's designated.
She's done it traditionally for many years, yeah.
I
But it could be somebody else who says, I want to do that.
Okay, I guess that the details aren't my purview. What I want to know is that there is money set aside, just as there is at Haley, for a crossing
Sure.
guard there. Thank you.
Yeah. And you can help Mr. Peters recruit.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that there's no, that it's not, oh, we don't have the money.
No, I was corrected from our last conversation, said the problem is getting people to add that on to their day.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for your consideration. Heather.
We'll go ahead and move forward with new business and item A, the proposed 2016-17 budget. Take a breath.
okay, I'm going to move so I can look at you, and I'm going to start this conversation, and then Mr. Chatterton's going to take over. So I'm going to give you the big picture, and then he's going to give you the nitty-gritty details. And Amanda, if you just go on to the slides, because the slides kind of recap the memo. So then the next slide, please. All right, so just a reminder of the, ooh, that's spelled wrong up there, guiding principles. Okay.
Well, we just got that, and, everybody, they're principals.
So guiding principles that you approved earlier this year, just to repeat those again, is that working on the district's strategic plan goals, to continue our commitment to our class size policy, which values small classes, so at least not go above policy. To provide equity in our student supports, and I asked that little graphic we had last year be included again, just to enforce the concept of equity. So those are our special education teachers, our reading teachers, social workers, all those extra support staff that some students need a lot of extra support to be able to reach the baseline, and some of them do not, but that we provide them what they need. Our English language learning teachers also come in that category. And then the most difficult one this year, as you're very aware because we've been grappling with this now for several months, is reducing that gap between revenues and expenditures. And so we can start to build an unassigned fund balance and not just keep spending our reserves down. So with that, we made the commitment then to, I think we're going the wrong way, there we go, the commitment to, and there's our first 4 goals, paraphrased, to inspire all of our students to develop their intellectual curiosity, to engage them actively in our learning community, to educate them with strong foundational skills and analytical problem-solving skills, to empower them to make positive choices, commitment to continue the small class size policy, and to provide equity in our additional student supports, rather than the more traditional way that everybody gets 2 reading teachers, 2 whatever. So we've tried to achieve that in this proposed budget that we're bringing to you by maintaining all teacher FTEs while realigning those FTEs to match enrollment. We've been talking about the middle school and the high school, and that's where the bulk of our students are right now. And so they have been the beneficiaries of this by moving some of those FTEs to the middle and high school. Middle school last year, high school this year, as they take on these additional students. We have talked as a staff across the district that will go in cycles. When the birth rate's back up and everybody's coming into kindergarten, we'll be moving FTEs back to the elementary. Mr. Peters and Mr. Pierce are working with their staff to work on building slightly different schedules and ways of better supporting the students at those levels, especially like you heard tonight, the GRIT students or students that need additional support from teachers all across the board. Maintain all our support teacher FTEs and once again align them by individual student needs. So if we have a growing number of English language learners at a particular school, we're stepping up to meet those needs there. Then providing flexibility in the use of allocated FTEs to the schools. We started that last year, and we're getting better at it. The schools are the ones who know the needs most intimately of the students who are sitting in front of them, so giving them their allocation and then letting them make decisions about how to best use that, as long as we stay within the bounds of federal regulations to not supplement or supplant what's happening with federal dollars. And then lastly, something we're very proud of in the last 2 years is to continue that focus on engaging parents, staff, and other stakeholders in our work with the strategic plan and with the financial plan. And now as we do the state of the district meetings, we're very proud of the growing numbers of people we have participating. And so we want to continue that focus. That was something in the financial survey that they told us was important. So that takes us then to how are we going to find some savings to get the expenditures and revenues balanced. And so the proposed budget is a reduction of 10.5 FTE at the district level. And these are positions, not people. As we have done previously, we're working really hard to find other seats for people whose positions or programs might be going away, and we have already taken care of many of these just through attrition throughout the year. As we knew we were approaching this, we intentionally did not rehire or shifted people's duties based on that, so that we'll see how Mr. Blackman and Shannon Mazza do on this, but we're anticipating being able to offer people other options in the district. And then also savings by reductions in a lot of the budgets, the professional development budget, administrative travel and PD, department budgets, school budgets, landscaping contracts. You can see the list there of other places where we're looking to make savings. When it says elimination of site improvement funds, if if we were speaking English, that's the playground funds that we provided one year. We provided fairly recently funds for new playground equipment at Haley. This year we're providing it at Hemingway, and so we're saying right now we think our school playgrounds are fairly up to date and good shape, so we would eliminate that for the moment. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chatterton to get into the nitty-gritty details.
You going to sit there? Nope, I'm going to move. Okay, I'm going to go at this at about a 30,000-foot level. And it's going to be very similar to what we looked at last year as we go through these. So really the highlights of the fiscal year 2016-17 budget was, if you look at student populations, there's a real shift going on from elementary populations to secondary populations. For example, we know that we're projecting about a 13 student increase at the middle school and about an 86 student increase at the high school. And we're showing small decreases at Bellevue, a little increase at Alturas, and some pretty major decreases in enrollments at Haley and Hemingway next year. That's what's causing the shift from full-time equivalencies to the elementary school, from elementary school to the high school. We also look at supply allocations, based on student needs. How are we going to allocate student supply money? And it's based on student population as well. We give weighting factors for E&L students, for special education students, for reading students, those types of things, to give them GATE students, to give them more supply support as well as staff support at each of the buildings. Okay, the next slide is, this is a similar slide to what we had last year. And what I'm showing you is, this is our budgeted expenditures for the past 9 years. And you can see that since the fiscal year 2008-9, our budget was $57.7 million, and now it's $53.6 million, and it's about almost a $2 million reduction from last year in budget amounts. And like I believe I've told a lot of you in the past, there's a lot of difference between when we were talking last month about $1.3 million in savings versus budgeted amounts. And when you're looking at $1.3 million in expenditure cuts, you're looking at actual money that's going to be cut out of the budget that's been spent the prior year. For example, we had fuel costs last year in this year's budget that was based on fuel prices from 2 years ago. Well, we know fuel prices are much less now, so the budget is going to go down. That's not an expenditure saving for us, it's just a budget item savings. So that doesn't go into the $1.3 million in cost savings that we've tried to maintain for this fiscal year. Okay, so general fund revenue highlights for the 2016-17 year. Property tax levies are going to be consistent with what they've been in the past 6 years. Other local sources are going to increase slightly. That would be like interest earnings that we're earning from our money that we have invested through the state treasurer's pool. It would be money that we receive through E-rate funds from telephone companies, those types of things. Things that aren't really anticipating in coming in, but we do receive money from. Refunds that from like textbook companies or things that we sell textbooks back to the textbook companies. They pay us money for reimbursing us those. That will go into other local revenue sources. State revenues, we're showing an increase, or we're projecting an increase of about $2.1 million over last year. That's based on several factors. We'll get into that in a little bit. Additional revenue through the state of Idaho through legislation that they've had this year. And for the first year since 2008 and 9, we're back above the state revenues that we were budgeting back 8 years ago. So it's taken the state of Idaho 8 years to get back to the level of funding that they were using when the recession hit. Okay, we talked a little bit about revenues. If you look at the next slide, it's all general fund revenue sources, and you can see the history of those over the past 7 years, 6 years, 6 years. All of those numbers are staying pretty consistent. Property tax, other local sources are staying pretty consistent, except, and then state revenue, you can see how it's increased from $15 million in 2011-12 to about almost $18 million this year. Now that's a factor of several things that are going on. A steady increase in enrollment and average daily attendance. If you look at our average daily attendance, it's been improved quite a bit this year. Now the reason it's going...
Thank you, staff.
Thank you, staff. The reason it's going up so much this year is last year when we budgeted for state revenues, we were budgeting state revenues based on what our average daily attendance was before we really started to focus on it. And since we started focusing on bringing in, making sure our kids were in school all of the time, that helps our average daily attendance, which brings us more money from the state. And just through the funding formula alone, I mean, the amount of money that we received just by the average daily attendance increasing last year was about $600,000. But not only is it just through the funding formula, all of the other funds that the state distributes on, drug-free schools, the leadership premium money, all of the different things is all based on average daily attendance, or it's based on the units that the school district, which is based on average daily attendance as well. So not only does it affect the salary-based apportionment and the entitlement portion of the state revenue, it affects all other funding that's coming from the state of Idaho, too. So it's a bigger number than the 600,000. It's probably closer to 700,000 or 800,000. Okay, general fund expenditure highlights. If you look at our total salaries and benefits, has only increased 2.8% over the past 6 years. Fringe benefits have increased by 12.5% over the past 6 years. Supplies, materials, and are consistent with where we were budgeting money for 6 years ago. We haven't had any major increases in supplies, and the monies. Really the only thing that affects that portion of our budget would be the amount of money that we budget for textbook adoption. Sometimes those fluctuate pretty dramatically. For example, last year I think our textbook adoption was about $180,000 because we didn't have any major adoptions. This coming year it's about $450,000 because we have math, which is a huge adoption for us, very expensive. Building site and site improvements, we're shifting to the plant facility levy. That's about between $275,000 and $300,000 that's coming out of the general fund that's getting moved over to the plant facility, like from the conversations we were talking earlier about interest earnings covering those costs. We have property tax, property liability, casualty insurance, and transfers are up slightly over the last 6 years. We did rebid all of our insurances about 4 years ago and saved about $130,000 a year on premiums just on property insurance and vehicles. So that was pretty dramatic savings on insurance costs. And overall, the general fund budget's down about $2 million this year. One of the things I want to reach out and let you know is, you look at that first bullet point on that, it says that the salaries within the general fund have only increased by 2.8%. I mean, if you look at our salary schedule costs and a lot of other things, it's much higher than the 2.8%. But 6 years ago, there was a lot of incentives coming from the state of Idaho on performance bonuses and those types of things that they were filtering down to the school districts and we were distributing out to staff. Since those 2 years have gone, those performance bonuses have gone away too, so it actually eliminates a lot of the salary increases that we were showing at that portion of our budget. Okay, this is a slide that shows the expenditures by source, And the sources are just major categories, and you can see that the salaries and benefits is by far the biggest category that we have. It typically runs about 85 to 87% of our total general fund budget. Purchase services, all of these categories have stayed pretty consistent over the past 6 years. You can see purchase services down a little bit. A lot of that is based on utility savings. If you look at utility costs this year versus last year, we're showing a little increase in the amount of money that we've budgeted for utilities, and that's based on water from the City of Haley. The water rates have increased pretty dramatically. That would be not one of the incentives to get off of city services for Wood River Middle School and the Haley Elementary site, because that would be a pretty big cost savings, expenditure savings for the district to do that.
Get off city services for irrigation.
For
Not
irrigation.
for kids
Yeah, not
figuring.
potable water, it's just for irrigation services. Right now, we spend about $140,000 a year on irrigation for those two sites. We could reduce that down by about $120,000 by having our own well and getting off of city services.
Can I ask just a really,
Sure.
this just goes right into this area. So where are the McKinstry savings in terms of supplies and materials?
It doesn't show up in supplies and materials, it would show up under the purchase services accounts. That's where all of the utilities are budgeted.
Okay.
So you can see over the course of the last several years how much that budget is decreased.
I thought you just attributed that to decreasing energy costs.
That's McKinstry.
That's
That's
McKinstry.
because of McKinstry upgrades.
But costs of fuel have plummeted, so that's
Cost.
in there too.
The cost of,
Fuel is budgeted in supplies and materials.
For like gasoline for the buses and stuff, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know. So McKinstry's in purchase services, and gasoline for buses is in supplies and materials.
Yes.
So what I'm wondering is, it looks like, how come we've gone up?
Our textbook adoption has gone up about $300,000 over last year.
Okay.
That's a
and
big portion of that.
And the gasoline does not nearly offset that.
It wouldn't offset completely. I
Okay.
think the amount of money we have taken out of our general fund budget for fuel costs was about $90,000, was that right? Right, X? 85,000, something like that?
The reduction
In the fuel costs? Yeah.
Okay, and then the purchase services, so now we're down, it looks like we're saving, so how much did we save from McKinstry this year is, I guess, what I'm going to ask.
I would have to look at their energy reports that they submit to us quarterly.
Actually,
to come up with
if you go on our website, was it this week or last week? This week, we have, because it's Earth Week or Earth Day, we have a report that shows all those savings, and it has a link to where you can, if you want to check it every day and see where we are, you can. So go back to the weekly update and click on those links, and you'll see details.
It was a total of 9.5 over 20 years, was it? 9.5 million over 20 years?
Something like that,
Something
yeah.
like that. That's what they held them to, and it was guaranteed.
and according to the reports, we are beating that.
Yeah.
From the last
According
time
to
I
the
looked at 'em.
reports, they are ahead of that.
We post
right.
those reports every quarter on the website, so you can see what they're...
Because prices of fuel have gone down.
Not necessarily that, because when, under the agreement that we settled with McKinstry, it was based on energy costs at that time. So if energy costs decrease over time, it will affect their guarantee adversely.
Adversely, right.
Yes.
Right, okay. Okay, it just doesn't look like it's all that much, and I was hoping for at least $500,000 a year, because 9.5 over 20 years is about $500,000.
Yeah, but you have to figure in inflation over that course of time too, which all of those guarantees are based on, is inflation factors on all of the utility costs. You can't just look at it as a straight line, $9.5 million based in over 20 years and say that's it. Because everything's based on a baseline, and it had projections on how much utilities we're going to increase every year on an inflation factor, and that all goes into the
Oh, I
equation.
know all that, but we got that guarantee that it was going to be 9.5 no matter what.
Yes.
That's what we got. And we made sure that all of those estimates were at a certain level. That's why I'm saying I was expecting to see $500,000 or so.
No, I mean, I think if you looked at the energy savings right now, even the estimates very early on were about $200,000 a year early into the savings years for the first several years. And we're
then you
still
ramp.
tracking at that. And then they start ramping up as the projection of energy costs increase year over year over year. Okay, and now I'm going to get into a little bit, this is also another area that we talked a little bit last year. I got some comparisons of where we are this coming year versus last year. These are the reasons why we spend more in staffing than we receive in the state. We've looked at this several times over the past several years. The cost of living is higher in Blaine County than it is most other places in the state of Idaho. Our benefit costs are higher. We have smaller class sizes than most other districts. We have specials teachers in each of our elementary schools. We have social workers in every school. And we have more programming offered than a typical school district in Idaho. Okay, here's where we're looking at the amount of funds that we get reimbursed through our salary-based apportionment through the state of Idaho versus how many actual staff members that we have. These are all based on current numbers from February of this year. So you can see in administration, we're funded for 12.2 administrators. We have 18, so we're over by 5.8. If you compare that to last year, we were over by 6.2. So you can see that our full-time equivalency on administrators has not increased year over year. It's still the same number of 18, but it increased in units that we receive from the state based on our ADA is what's causing those to compress down a little bit. So the more higher our average daily attendance gets, the better these numbers look. Instructional staff is 181.3. We have 277, so we're about 96 staff over. Non-certified staff, we have 60.5. We have about 130 staff now, so we're about 69.5 over that. If you looked at last year's numbers, comparison on the same sheet that I provided you, you could see that our full-time equivalency that we were over on the non-certified staff was about 77.9 over. So you can see that shift of the positions that we're eliminating through our budget. Okay, state revenues budgeted through the salary state apportionment. This is money that we receive from the state of Idaho based on each of our support units. So for example, for every support unit we have, which is basically a classroom size, we receive a .075 of an administrative position.
A state of Idaho classroom size, not a Blaine County
Right.
classroom size. There's a
Right.
difference.
So instructional, you get 1.1 per support unit. So if you take all of our support units and you multiply these numbers out, those are the numbers that we receive from the state of Idaho for education in Blaine County. So we get about $11.5 million. Now if you look at how much we spend on the next one, you can see that $11.5 million that we receive from the state of Idaho, and we spend $43.6 million on those same staffs. So there's a big variance in dollars. It's a much bigger variance in dollars than it's a variance in actual staff members above what the state reimburses us for.
Just have a quick
Trustee
question
Corcoran.
on this. So in the budget, you have this very nicely laid out right next to each other. So you get the budgeted state reimbursement for certified, non-certified administrative and fringe benefits, and then the amount that we actually spend. So the way that I'm looking at it, our budget, because of the local tax funding, we have about 3 times more funding than the average Idaho school district. So that makes sense. On the certified side, we get budgeted from the state $7.6 million. we spend 22. So that makes perfect sense to me. That's 3 times more. We have 3 times more money. We should be spending 3 times more on certified staff. Where there are 2 areas that, that really stand out where something is kind of off in terms of where those numbers line up. Well, the main one is fringe benefits. So we get $1.8 million in money from the state for fringe benefits, and we spend $12.9 million in fringe benefits. And my question is, how do other districts do it? Because they do. They do. They manage to spend 1.8. I mean, similar, exact same size as ours, 1.8, and yet we spend 12.9 million. So I'm wondering where.
There's not one school district in the state of Idaho that collects as much money in fringe benefits as they pay out.
They'll pay over.
Because the only thing the state of Idaho pays on fringe benefits is the PERSI retirement and Social Security and unemployment. That's all they pay. So they don't pay for health insurance, life insurance, dental, vision. They don't pay for any of that.
So where are other school districts getting the money for that?
Supplemental levies that they're passing through the
But some
voters.
can't pass supplemental levies. So where are they? I mean, no health insurance or?
They would have very reduced health insurance plans that would cover that. I mean, the state of Idaho gives you discretional money.
So they
can.
they cover PERSI, and you said what else? Is it
Social Security.
Social Security.
Workers' comp.
And what was it?
Workers' comp.
Workers' comp. So
Unemployment.
So so am I to understand that the difference here, which is about $10 million, is that health insurance?
Some of it. Some of it is health insurance. Some of it is our PERSI retirement that we pay on behalf of the employee. Some of it is dental insurance. Some of it's vision insurance.
One of the things that we do that many districts do not do is we pay the employee portion of their PERSI retirement in addition to the employer portion.
So in other districts, they're paying their own pension money out of their own
pay
pocket,
their share,
and we
the
pay
employer
here.
pays their share.
About how much is that?
About $2.1 million.
Okay. That was the one, that's the one that just stood out as being, I don't know how other school districts do it. I can't even imagine how they open their doors.
There was conversation in the legislature, and I assume it will continue for the next couple of years, about the state helping school districts with health insurance, because it is a growing issue with all districts, not just with us, but with all. And that's part of the reason why we had the Finance Committee last year look at it, trying to hope that fresh eyes would come up with a new solution. But
it didn't seem like there was any. There was
very
only
limited choices.
But other school districts are not able to afford that. So I'm not understanding. There's something that we're able to afford because we happen to have 3 times more funding, and yet other school districts are opening their doors and doing, going through their daily lives without that funding, and they're still paying somehow health benefits, or maybe they're not.
The state gives school districts about $21,000 per support unit to fund other areas, whether it's professional development, whether it's textbooks, whether it's classroom supplies, health insurance, life insurance, all of those other things. It's called discretionary money. And most districts are using that discretionary money to help cover the cost of health insurance and life insurance and those things. But if you look at the statistics now on how many school districts are running supplemental levies that are funded those, it's like 70% of the school districts now.
Right, but they're just a tiny fraction of what we get.
Yeah.
So
well, and part of it also depends on their health plans that they have, and what they and. I don't understand this at all, but we've just run into this problem this year with many of our retirees who are now having to pay a higher price than the rest of the districts in Region 4 for their health benefits, and yet I would think that our valley would be the healthiest area of Region 4, and so therefore our health benefits would be less, but no, it's the other way around. Our health costs would be less, but
Health benefits for our retirees is twice as much as the rest of the state due to the cost of medical
care.
in Blaine County. So our retirees are paying $302, where the rest of the state is paying $143.
I had a quick question. Somebody came up in the first round of public comment and said that some of the fringe benefits are the health insurance is being extended to administrators' spouses. Is that the case as it was before, or is
yes,
that new?
No, that's not new. That's part of their contract.
Okay.
That's been the case for 30 years, as long as I've been here.
Okay.
So all the administrators' spouses are covered as well?
Yes.
And how much is that? Do you have a number?
$171,000 a year.
How much is it?
$171,000
A year
That
for the
includes-
spouses?
That's the whole
The
package. It's
employees
not
as
just
well.
the
Because
spouses.
the employee package, which everybody gets, is $680, so you got to reduce that, you got to subtract that out of the total, so it's an additional $1,100 a month per family package that you're paying.
Are the employees or any administrators paying into that, or is the school covering the spouses and family members?
The school district's covering them.
Part of the contract.
If they have a family. If they don't have a family, they're not covered. They don't, yeah.
Nobody covered.
Marie said something about 33,000. Where did she get that number? Is she here?
Total cost per month is $32,000, but you got to take out what you normally pay for the employee, which you pay all your employees. So if you pay for all your employees' health insurance, which is $680 a month, so you subtract that out, it takes about $14,300 a month, and over a year is $171,600.
So that's the total. If it was just the conventional.
Just the family. If you were just paying for the employee, like you
Right.
did for the teachers, it would cost you $680 a month per administrator. There's 13 of them that are covered. Actually, there's 14 of them.
She said there was, I don't know, she said there was 21 and she had a total cost of 33,000. The difference between, what's the added benefit to administrators?
$1,100.
I'm sorry, for the total.
$171,000.
Okay. Over the cost if they just, if they just insured themselves.
That's for all of them.
Okay.
They're on your list tonight.
Okay.
That's for all of them that are actually getting it, or for the number that was of the 21? Because there aren't 21 getting it.
I just went over the list.
Okay.
Of the administrative contracts that you're approving tonight.
Okay.
So there aren't 21 administrators who receive it?
No. No.
Your contracts are on your list tonight. You have 14 there.
Okay.
But one of them does not get the family unit. One of the administrative contracts on the list tonight does not get family medical. Not family.
Oh, but they would, they're, okay. Okay.
Okay, and the next one is, this is a summary. This is the summary that I showed last year, that showed the last several years on what the actual revenues were and actual expenses, and how the fund balance started to increase over the past 10 years and then started to decrease on our planned drawdown of our fund balance. So this is, I'm showing this again. I updated it to include last fiscal year of the 7.1 million. And I also put together another looking forward to 5 years with incorporating the $1.3 million in expenditure savings and what that impact would be. So in the perfect world, if we collect all of the money that we have budgeted in our revenues, and we spend exactly the same amount of money that we have budgeted in our expenses, for this year, our fund balance is going to be about $5.86 million. And if you look at the next year, go to the next slide, Amanda. You can see over the next 4 fiscal years, the projection of revenues and the projection of expenses, and then see how that's going to affect fund balance. And that's making a big assumption that all your budgeted revenues are being collected and all your budgeted expenditures are going to be spent. And typically that doesn't happen. If you take out contingencies, we'll spend about 98 to 99% of expenditures instead of all 100% of it.
So if I'm understanding correctly as well, Mike, in the 2014-15 year, we had budgeted 55.6. Our actual expenses were 50.9. Our 15-16 budgeted were 55.6. And our projected expenses for this year are 50.8.
Yep.
So we're coming in about close to $5 million under budget.
So the difference is I'm on these sheets, I'm projecting actual expenses based on what's happened in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Part of that savings is not using the contingency.
Right.
Get through the next couple of months with no major disasters.
Yeah.
Hope that hamster stake keeps that wheel upright.
So I'm sorry, could you just clarify, for some reason I'm missing, where is the projected fund balance is you're making assumptions about how much our revenues and our expenses are going to be going forward based on what?
Based on a percentage of increase that I've estimated that we're going to receive from the state of Idaho, because that's really the only source of additional funds that we have, and based on a projected expense that I see that's going to happen in the next several years.
Okay, and does that take into account any kind of retirement projection?
No.
Okay. So we've got basically, if we're trying to get up to that 8.9 million, according to your numbers, if we go in the directions that you're projecting we may, then we kind of gain an extra $1 million that we don't have to put aside.
Yes.
Do these numbers also include, because per our agenda tonight, we have several teachers retiring. Do we have teachers replacing them?
Yes.
And all those positions have been filled, or?
No, but we're working on it.
Okay.
That one of the commitments we made was not to reduce the number of teacher FTEs. So they might be switching. We might have a retirement at the elementary school, and then that FTE goes to the high school, and they can add a math science teacher because they need more help in that area. But it's still the same number of FTEs. We're just moving positions from one building to another.
What's been the savings that we would project? Because obviously people in their retirement have kind of maxed out their career in the Blaine County School District. So somebody moving in and taking over their position might not have those years of.
It's typically between $30,000 and $35,000 per year per employee. That's the rule of thumb that I use on retirees. When I work on my budget, and when I pick a point in time and say, okay, I'm cutting off salaries right now, everything I know, all of the people that I know are going to retire up to this date, I'm going to include in the budget, but anything that happens after this date, it's going to be too late. It's not going to happen in this year's budget. That's going to also make up a portion of why we're not spending the 100% of all of the money that we have budgeted to spend, because some of that's going to be absorbed in salaries.
Okay.
Just like when we have parapros or custodians that leave the district and we hire in somebody on a lesser amount on the salary schedule, and that happens through the course of the year all the time.
Okay. I also had an additional question because it's been on my mind is when I first started on as a board member, we were always talking about we were going to have a $3 million deficit that would be coming up. I don't hear talk of that anymore, and I'm kind of just wondering, with 1.3 million or the 1.3 million in saving, if that's going towards that $3 million deficit that we are projecting out. How are we heading towards that, and where are we at?
Actually, the deficit that we were projecting last year was based on if we were staying on the same course that we are. But since last year, we've changed courses to where we've actually cut our expenditures down to where our revenues are, so that $3 million was being absorbed.
Okay.
There's quite a few positions at the administrative level, at the district level, that have gone vacant partway through the year, and instead of hiring those positions this year, we've gone ahead and foregone and tried to balance and add to people's loads, basically to cover those things.
And we collected a little more in state dollars because we've worked really hard on the attendance thing.
Yeah, with the addition of that
We're still below the
750,000.
state average, so we've got more to do, but every step forward helps.
And in order for us to hit next year's state revenues, we're going to have to be very diligent on our average daily attendance again next year, even more so than this year. A couple of the things that I want to highlight, just in my perspective of where I see things that are going to come up in the future, that we all need to be aware of what's going to happen with the board and what happens with the public. I think some of the big things, and they're small things in the budget, but I think they may be big items within the community. I think driver's ed is going to be a big factor this coming year, because right now the school district is paying for all driver's education costs. Next year that's going away, so the students are going to have, the parents are going to have to pay for driver's education, and it's going to be about $270 per person to take driver's ed through the school district. It's still cheaper than taking it through the private contractor here in the valley, but it's going to be a big shift from what people are not used to paying for. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. That's about a $50,000 line item in our general fund budget that we eliminated this year to save for that transfer going from the general fund into the driver's education fund.
And if you went back and looked at the financial survey, you'll see that was one of the lower things. So obviously, a lot of people voted who didn't have kids learning to drive.
And if you look at most districts across the state of Idaho, most districts are charging for driver's ed.
Yeah, Amanda
Same
pulled the numbers.
area that we are looking at right now. So I mean, it's not that we are not doing, or that we're doing something different than most people are. We're just getting there.
Is the $270, is that just like a straight across budget item? There's no revenue to be made, or we're not losing anything else?
Yep.
That's just the cost? Okay.
One of the things I also want to address is legal fees. Legal fees, we budgeted a slight increase this year because of all of the public information requests that we're receiving. A lot of these public information requests we're receiving have to be reviewed by the attorney before we respond, as well as the additional time. We didn't ask for a half-time FTE this year to help cover the cost, but if the information requests continue, we'll be looking at additional staff time, either in overtime or additional staff time to help manage these. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is I see an area that is going to be very hard to manage, is going to be the amount of money we spend on substitutes. When I budget substitute costs, I budget every certified position in the county, in the school district, to take 11 days off. And I budget every non-certified position to take 14 days off. And that's, we've always spent about 95% of our budget. So that's anywhere from $650,000 to $680,000 a year on substitute costs. We're cutting that by $200,000. So to give you an example, if we did not hire a substitute for all of our non-certified staff in the district for the entire year, that would only save us $212,000. So we're really going to have to be diligent on what our substitute costs are at a certain point in time next year, and just make the determination whether or not we're going to allow substitutes to happen at the non-certified level, paraprofessionals and custodial and those types of things. So, and we're going to be very diligent on our certified staff members, whether or not, we're pulling them out of the classroom for professional development, for teacher meetings and those types of things, to make sure that we can do what we need to do at the district level to manage that as well.
Will ASOP help with that, making those decisions, or how is that going to be facilitated?
ASOP just manages people and positions. It really won't manage how many substitutes that we need to have every day. I mean, if you really look at that, you're cutting that whole program by about 30% for next year. And that's a big reduction that we're not used to or never tried to control before. So,
But there was talk about custodial or parapros or something, not replacing them if they weren't there. Is that
Correct. That's one way
That's one
we
way
can
to do it.
deal with it. And I don't know that there's one way. I think there's probably multiple ways. And it will be each supervisor being diligent and monitoring that, and almost on a case-by-case basis, because life happens, type of thing, but really monitoring that. And in some places I've seen where districts actually allocate those monies out to the individual schools and departments, and that gives them some more incentive to manage it. I don't think we're there yet, but it's certainly going to take all supervisors being very observant and cautious with that.
that's all I have for my 30,000-foot view on the budget. I mean, there's a lot of information in that budget document there that goes into much, much more detail of how we came up with budgets and why.
I would highly recommend, as you go through this budget, try and allot some time to sit down with either Dr. Holmes or Mike to go through, answer any questions you might have. It's a pretty thick, intense document and difficult to understand at times. So, but along those lines, I had Amanda put together a spreadsheet for each of us, and I think she sent that to us electronically today. But for those in the audience, basically any changes to the budget that we would recommend as board members, in order for us to help stay within our 1.3 reduction and make sure our expenditures line up with our revenues, anytime if you want to make a change to the budget as far as adding or dropping of a program, I would ask you to fill it out and get this information to Amanda by, I think, the 2nd of May. That way we can have all this stuff compiled for us to go out in our board packets for our May meeting, and we can have a more in-depth conversation about the justifications of each position. So if you want to see some additions to the budget, I would ask that you find an offset, basically, so we're not just increasing the budget.
So can I suggest, this seems, last year we had how many workshops? Quite a few workshops. This is a big thing, what we're doing here in terms of taking and drilling down and saying, I think that this position is unnecessary, or I think that this position that's been cut is actually, does fulfill the mission, so it should be kept. That, to me, should be a workshop. Okay. And before the May meeting, because I appreciate getting this overview, but a workshop is the time where you can actually talk back and forth, and hopefully, I don't know if I have no idea if people have anything to say that would enlighten me, but I would appreciate that. I've got some ideas, but I'd like to bat them around, not in a regular board meeting.
Okay.
It'll be forever.
Okay. Let me ask you this. We have a work session scheduled for May 3rd. Would you like to piggyback on top of that? Maybe put a time limit on the Serena Mountain School discussion and have some portion of that work session as well dedicated to the budget?
So, I mean, if we want to have a marathon, I don't know. These guys are the ones that are on and you two are on a,
I almost feel like it needs to be two
I do
separate
too.
meetings. I just think it's going to muddy it. I think we need a fresh set of brains to come in and grapple with each one. I know it's time, and it's trying to set two separate meetings, but I just feel like it would make more sense to have it separate instead of trying to bunch it all together. But it is trying to cram another meeting in before the next board meeting, which is in 3 weeks.
I was going to say, where the April board meeting was pushed back an extra week, it cuts our time short. But Amanda, can you reach out to the board to try and schedule a time for both staff and the board when we can meet together to have that work session?
You have negotiations in there too, so
I know.
you're very limited
Yeah,
on
I know.
available days.
Yeah. It's a very busy time of year, so. Are there any further questions, comments, discussion about the budget at this time?
If we have a workshop, no.
Okay. Well, I encourage you, dig into it, understand it. If you have questions in the interim, get with like I said, Mike Chatterton or Dr. Holmes, and we'll look at scheduling a work session to see when the availability is for board members and staff, so we can be able to dedicate the time we need to for these types of discussions.
Can I just clarify, you still want them to do that even before the workshop so that you have the...
Yeah, I would much prefer to have a starting point for the work session to where we have additions or offsets before the work session, so we can have that information ahead of us.
So May 3rd is the Syringa. I'm just trying to think, do we want to try to fit this in before that so we know what we're talking about, money-wise?
Well, that means you're basically doing this next week, which is...
Well, when is the negotiation? When are negotiations?
Next week.
Next week, next
And
Thursday, Friday,
then also the
and
week of Syringa.
Friday, Saturday, or
Okay.
Thursday, Friday, the week after.
Okay.
So Amanda will reach out about possible dates, and we'll try and get one scheduled. So, all right, we'll go ahead and move forward with item B, and that's Blaine County School District draft policies, and I believe we'll turn the time over to Mr. Blackman as we switch the microphones.
So these are proposed policies coming forward to you for first look. The financial policy is not, or the policy committee has not seen the financial policies. Those will all have been sent to them in electronic format, but we will be going through those tomorrow. Usually we'll have about a week. Our meeting's usually a week after your meeting, so it gives you the ability to give the policy committee your input before we put our eyes on it, give you our input back before you make your final decision. But those financial policies that are being presented to you tonight, again, have all been delivered to the policy committee via electronic format last week. And the homework policy, though, was discussed in full by the policy committee, and that recommendation is before you.
And just as a reminder, too, these financial policies, on March 1st, Dr. Holmes sent out a memo to the board indicating an adoption schedule that was approved by the State Department of Education that we said that we were going to adhere to. It is a very aggressive schedule, but it's one that they were more lenient on us where we had a schedule. They wanted them all done by the 1st of July, and there's just no way possible to get through that. So this is a very aggressive schedule, but the policy committee will have the opportunity to purview these policies prior to our vote on the new policies next month.
And we'll bring any recommendations from the committee forward before your vote next week.
There's just one little word that's wrong, if you want to know about that, on the homework policy. Okay, I think, let's see here, it's the first page of it, it's the second. It says, the last sentence of the second paragraph says, the school setting is the primary and most effective teaching and learning environment. Homework supplements and complements the teacher's instruction. The word complement just is not spelled right. That's all.
Okay.
All right, any further questions, comments about the new proposed policies? Seeing none, we look forward to hearing the recommendation from the policy committee. We'll go ahead and move forward with our second section of public comment tonight, and we have not received any as of yet. Would you please make sure you fill out okay, go ahead and bring it up if you would, please.
Hi, my name is Catherine Gray, 750 Buckhorn Drive.
Could you put the microphone closer?
Oh, sorry.
Because,
Just take hold.
yeah,
of it. Works better.
it's really bad.
Okay. Thank you for continuing to give the time for the second comment period. I also want to thank you for putting all of the supporting documents on the website. Some of I have two comments, and the first one was actually about the financial policies. And what I'm learning tonight is that there's an aggressive time frame on them. But what I noticed was that there weren't any of the cover sheets like there was with the homework policy and other policies. And that helps I think the board and the public to know where the policies came from. You know, I'm understanding that, you know, they were from the state, that we had to do them, but that's just nice for us to know. I did talk to Amanda earlier today. I guess it was discussed at the last meeting, which I was not at. But those cover sheets are really helpful to know why they're coming forward, who did it, are they mandated, et cetera. My second comment is now going to turn into a compliment. I wanted to commend and thank the board for the discussion and the administration for your discussion on the 5-year plan. A lot of my questions were answered, so I really appreciate that. I just also want to say that I really enjoyed listening to all the comments and the presentations tonight, especially learning about the GRIT program that I didn't know anything about. That is really exciting. So thank you. And finally, I loved to see the school district commitment to the small class sizes. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your comment. Having received none other, we will go ahead and move forward with the decisions portion of our agenda. And under such, we have item A, the consent agenda, consideration of minutes, regular March board meeting, March 9th, 2016, and special meeting of the board, March 9th, 2016. The acceptance of monthly financial report, payment of bills, permission to advertise for the purchase of buses and support vehicles, permission to submit requests for proposal for community campus carpet, application for study travel by student group Lisa Hoskins, Wood River High School business teacher, application for study travel group by Larry Barnes, Wood River High School science teacher, one certified employee request for child rearing leave, renewal of administrative contracts, John Blackman, Angie Martinez, Debbie Gutnick, John Pierce, Julia Graft, Keith Nelson, Mike Glenn, Fritz Peters, Rob Ditch, Brad Henson, Mark Savageau, John Peck, Thad Biggers, Don Hazley, and number 9, consideration of personnel exiting and entering. And Ms. LaChance, if I could bother you to share those.
Sure. Classified non-certified staff exiting. Richard Simpson, custodian from Cary, retiring on 4/30/2016. Alan Brooks, bus driver, transportation, retiring August 31st, 2016. Shirley Tharp, bus driver, transportation, retiring on August 31st, 2016. Desiree Kelly, child care paraprofessional with Silver Creek High School. Susan Lauer, paraprofessional at Hemingway. Classified non-certified coaching staff exiting. Timothy Reardon, assistant baseball coach, Wood River Middle School, and that's coach only. Recommending for hire under classified non-certified coaching staff is Jason Roth, assistant softball coach at Wood River Middle School. Certified staff exiting, Karen Bliss, 1.0 FTE kindergarten teacher at Alturas, retiring August 31st, 2016. Judith Hawks, 1.0 FTE ENL teacher at Hemingway, retiring August 1st, 2016. Mary Jacobson, 1.0 PE/health teacher at Wood River Middle School, retiring August 31st, 2016. Jennifer Barrett Neat, 1.0 FTE early childhood special education teacher at Haley Elementary, a 1-year leave of absence for the 2016-17 school year. Peggy Woods, 1.0 FTE English language arts teacher at Wood River Middle School, retiring August 31st, 2016. Lori Rourke, 1.0 FTE, second grade teacher at Haley Elementary, retiring August 31st, 2016. Nancy Resco, 1.0 FTE, second grade teacher at Haley Elementary, retiring August 31st, 2016. Cassie Sharp, 0.5 FTE preschool teacher at Cary. Amanda Ewig, 1.0 FTE ENL teacher at Hemingway. And Chandra Luke, library and media specialist at Cary.
All right. Thank you for that. And I'll go ahead and call for a motion at this time.
I make a motion to pass all of those. What am I?
Approve the
Pass the
consent
consent agenda. Thank you.
Can we, is the discussion after the motion is made?
Correct.
Okay.
So we have motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make a second.
Okay, second. You made the motion, so if you have any discussion, we'll start with you, Trustee Freund.
No?
Okay.
So
Corker?
I am not saying that I'm for or against anything that was talked about with the extra family coverage that the administration gets. But by renewing the administrative contracts, does that take off the table any discussion of that for money savings?
I would have to go ahead and defer to Dr. Holmes to see
When
implications.
we go through negotiations, what happens in negotiations with teachers as far as salary increases or not, benefit changes or not, then that is also reflected in their administrative contracts. Is that correct? So while they don't get their spouses paid for, if there was some kind of agreement to do some sharing on health benefits or those kinds of things, then that would be expected of the administrators as well.
So you're saying that the negotiation would, so if they have, if these administrators have contracts now and then the negotiation happens in a few weeks, it would supersede, it modifies their contracts?
Am I correct on that, Mr. Blackman?
The association really doesn't negotiate on behalf of the administrators.
Right, but we-
So one of the problems you're going to run into is contract property rights. So these have been in the contract for several years, upwards of 30. So you've got a property right issue there that if it's easier not to give than to take something off of a contract. So if this is a property right, I could see where an administrator would definitely have a claim to say that this is a property right and part of the contract. So,
Right. That's what I'm concerned about.
mhm.
is
So you
that-
would have
yeah.
to negotiate that with your administrative staff.
Right, and as I said, I'm not one way or another on this, but I did hear a comment tonight about it, and we are facing a deficit, and everything has to be on the table. So by accepting the consent agenda, does that take off $171,000 potentially of something that at least needs to be on the table? That's what it's looking like to me.
I would understand it that way, and
I think what Mr. Blackman was saying, I just made you a doctor. What Mr. Blackman was saying is it is a property right, so if that was something we wanted to work on, that's something we would have to have a negotiation with our administrators on.
No, and I understand that, but I think...
Just like we're getting ready next week to have a negotiation with our teachers.
Right, but you would have a claim if all of a sudden we have a renewal tonight, and then all of a sudden we renege on that, and there's a claim that we're making for a contract that includes benefits for the entire family, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we're going to talk about that.
We would have negotiations for the following year, or we can say we're not going to approve them tonight, but we still have to negotiate it because it is a property right. We don't unilaterally make that decision.
You already have a property rights situation. You're going to have to negotiate with that with your admin. If you want to change that contract,
Right.
you're going to have to negotiate that. So it's
Well,
Yeah.
we do and we don't. I mean, by renewing the contract, then we have a property right situation.
No, you have a property right now. Property right
Because it
means
existed in their contract prior.
after 4 years, the
Yeah.
contracted employee who's certificated
So-
has an expectation to that contract renewal as is, just like our teachers do. Our teachers have a contract right to their existing contracts. If they're in good standing with the district and they've been employed for 4 years, they have what's called a continuing contract or renewal contract right. So they have a right to expect their contract to be renewed as is unless negotiated differently by them. So
So why is this even on here if it's an automatic?
Just like all of the employees are on there for exiting and entering. It's a yearly requirement that the board approve it.
Okay, so everybody is telling me that by saying this tonight, it's not going to take off the table any talk of,
It just means you have to have that talk if you're considering not fulfilling that portion of the contract.
doesn't make sense to me.
Because-
It doesn't make sense to me.
The way, and the way that I understand it, and I could be incorrect, but a certificated employee who works for the school district, after 4 years, has what's called a property right, and they're supposed to be able to, you're not supposed to be able to drop the benefits or the pay to that employee outside of a RIF policy enforcement. Just like it affects certified teachers in the classroom, administrators are certificated employees by the state as well, so they would have that same property right if they have been here for that 4-year period. Does that make sense?
just like your teachers have a right to the contract as it exists right now, they don't have a right to any increases. They have a right to their existing contract. So do your administrators. They don't have a right to any increases in that contract. That is negotiated. But they have an expectation, a property right expectation of what they have will be continued based on good job performance.
So if you're going to decrease that benefit, it has to be through a negotiated process
And I
with
think
those
that-
administrators.
I think the exception to that is if you're under financial distress.
And that's that RIF policy that would come into place.
Okay. So if you're saying that this is it's renewed anyway, it's going to be renewed anyway.
Formality.
Formality. So if we can pass the consent agenda without that, because it's a formality, and it doesn't matter anyway, without that, then we can have at least that on the table as being something that we can talk about. And it will be, if it doesn't matter anyway, for us to renew it tonight.
Mr. Chatterton or John, if even Dr. Holmes, what classifies a financial emergency where we would put into practice that RIF policy? Because I don't know that right off the top of my head
It
with our
would be
policy.
a catastrophic event, like a big decrease in revenues that is unanticipated, something that you would be able to pass on to the contingency fund.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't think this would be anything is considered a financial emergency.
So it would be a very difficult thing to do through that portion outside of a negotiated process with the administrators.
So we would want to negotiate first before
Yes.
renewing their contracts.
And if I could just caution you, at the time of the year that we're at, it is not the time to start negotiating with administrators when we're looking to get next year put together. I mean, if we want to have this conversation for the following year, I can see that being a very valid conversation, but we're out trying to fill teacher vacancies, those kinds of things, and I think we owe that same respect to our administrators, and not to say, oh, we're going to decide this 2 months from now after we've negotiated with you.
No, it's not a matter of respect, it's a matter of we are looking at a deficit situation and everything has to be on the table, and if we have a certain class of employee where it's taken off the table to be able to talk about that. I mean, for teachers, we negotiate all the time what's going to be their increase or,
But we don't negotiate a decrease with them.
they also don't enjoy the same.
That's true.
The same. So I would prefer to renew the contract after we negotiate, after we figure out what we're doing with the budget and we negotiate. We negotiate with the, depending on, if the board decides, okay, we don't want to provide any, we want to save $171,000. I doubt that'll happen, but if they do, at that point, then we start to have to enter into negotiations, and then we find out, well, everybody would leave. Is that, that may happen. But we at least need to have that option, because otherwise, we're just kind of going on automatic pilot that we're not, that this is off the table, that's off the, just because it doesn't seem like there's a reason.
I would say you're going to have a problem at this late a date. Administrative positions are already being filled. Most of them are filled much earlier than teaching positions, but even teaching positions, we're getting late into the hiring season. I will say that if you had an administrator that all of a sudden lost a contract right and now doesn't have the opportunity to find a job because of the late time that you put them into the job field.
We're talking about, we're not talking about firing people. We're talking about one part of...
You're talking about removing benefits that are contracted. It'd be no different than if you all of a sudden went back to your teachers and said, we're now not going to pay your Percy portion of your retirement. And if you just did that, or if you said, we're not going to renew your contract until we, it'd be...
It's got to
You're going to be hard pressed.
I mean, it's got to be, everything has to be on the table during this discussion, and this takes that off the table. So that's where my concern is.
And it's not like they're actual employees. We're just talking about discussing family members' coverage of health insurance. That's all we're discussing, not actual employees, but their benefits to their family members.
But it's
You're talking about cutting their pay $1,100 a month. So be careful.
That's true.
You are.
That's true.
That's a benefit. That's a benefit that they've had
problem with the property rights.
And they entered into the job with that benefit, and it's part of their contract. So be careful.
So I'm going to make the comment here. We're talking about cutting education by 2.5%. So that's at the bottom of everything. So everything has to be on the table.
Not a problem. Just you need
And I
to talk
think
to your
we
administration.
brought you a budget that did that without cutting any employee classes, salaries, benefits, anything like that.
My strong recommendation would be, if you're going to have these conversations with the administrators, I think it would be more prudent on behalf of the board to talk about that and plan ahead for next year. I think it unwise for this year. I would caution I'll leave it at that. So, is there any further discussion at this time?
I'm just curious about what are the consequences of doing this and saying we're not going to renew the contract tonight. We're going to accept the consent agenda, but not these contracts. What is the consequences of doing that?
I think the consequences are it gives your administrators a lack of confidence in your support of them. I think the symbolism is enormous.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's calling into question the administrator's performances. That's not in question at all.
But it's their contract. There is
through their property right contract.
It's not saying we don't trust you, but it's also there has to be some discussion, and I feel like this is getting pushed right now. But I think it's definitely a discussion that could be added somewhere in the year to have. Now, we have teacher negotiations every year. Are there administrator negotiations? How often do we have those, and how do those work? Are they just automatically renewed, or is it?
There have not been
There
administration
there have not
negotiations.
been administrative negotiations. Your administrators do not have a salary schedule like teachers.
Nor
They've
do they
taken the COLA.
have a union, if I understand
Yep,
correctly.
and we do, and we are not represented by a union.
I mean, I understand
association.
this argument. I mean, I get it. So few people have their spouses paid for with insurance. It's becoming antique. It just doesn't happen anymore. But I think it's way too hasty right now to try and not renew these contracts and try and push this through or talk about it next week. So that's where I stand.
So you're recommending that we negotiate for the following year, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think we should open the discussion.
For the following year.
Not right now, not on top of everything else that we're talking about.
I agree. I think that there's a compromise, though. Possibly we could renew this for a month and then have the administrator negotiations and also our budget meeting workshop.
But I think having administrative negotiations right now on top of the budget, the Syringa, and everything else, I think it's too much. I just feel like we're pushing too much through right now.
So, okay, that's fine. What really is happening here is we're taking $171,000 off of the discussion of possibly
For this year.
For this year. Well, for this year, but it could, things have a funny way of moving out forever. So maybe if we can say after we get through this crunch time, maybe that's the time to do it. Like to put a time on it, to say in 3 months we'll do this, so that it's not hanging out there and we're going to all forget about it. I mean, that's the tacit understanding.
Just for clarifying purposes, the motion on the table is to pass a consent agenda as read. Any alterations to that motion, you would have to make a motion, have a first, second discussion, vote on that, then go back to either the amended motion or the original motion, vote on that original motion, just for clarifying purposes. So is there any further discussion or motions on the table at this time? If not, we'll go ahead and call for a vote.
So I understand everything that's being said, and I think, Carol, you have a good point. It's a very last-minute thing to do. But I also think that we need to, with this, now that this has come up, now that it's we're all of a sudden understanding this, Marit brought it up, we're in a deficit situation. None of these things happened in previous years. So I think that if we can pass the consent agenda with a motion as well, that we will revisit this in 3 months or whenever our crunch time is open. That's a nice compromise.
That would be a second motion. You could make
So
a second
your
motion.
We would pass the consent agenda and then...
So your basic motion would be to pass a consent agenda with the caveat that in 3 months' time frame we will be negotiating with the administrators to discuss the
Following year's contract.
Yeah.
I
I
would say in the fall, because 3 months they're likely to be on the river somewhere. or just getting back and starting school. So say by December it'll be completed or something.
That's a little bit too far out for me. I think, so we're all having this discussion and we understand what it's about and it's fresh in our minds. And in 3 months' time, we'll still understand what we're talking about. In December, it will be, we'll have to revisit this whole thing and figure it all out again.
I would just caution that in 3 months' time, we're in April, May, June, July.
They're not even on contract.
I would recommend you move it to during the school year to have that discussion when they're around.
September is an awfully busy month, but if you want to do that, or August, I mean, all I'm saying is just if it's in the far distant future, we won't remember what this is about.
That's the glorious thing about having a clerk that can remind us and set things on the calendar.
Yeah, but
So-
to have to revisit the entire argument.
So basically, the motion that you're amending the motion on the table to add the caveat for us, a 6-month, or to have it finished up by December, or by, you pick, it's your motion, you pick the date.
So I think that what we're talking about is to negotiate for the first time the administrative contract. Is that really what we need to be talking about? I mean, that's really what we're coming down to here, is that in the past, there's never really been a reason to. Or we have not chosen to.
I was going to say, it's your motion, I'm not going to try to interject,
yeah.
so.
So to April, so the idea is that the administration is not going to be here in July.
They're not on contract in July.
They go,
When are they in contract?
They come back in August.
August. Okay, so August. So making a motion that we
They're
have,
starting school in August.
okay, so making a motion that we have a negotiation with the administrators for their contract in August. The same as we do for the teachers.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
You want to do September?
If we did October, I know it's getting out there, but at least it lets schools
I think it's
start
just
and-
having the discussion
Yeah.
before the next budget session,
Next contract
year.
year.
So I don't,
But I want it to be done in advance. I don't think that, doing it in April as we are doing right now, I want to give us plenty of time to work with our administrators, so we all reach a comfortable acceptance of what we think is best.
October sounds good to me. It's kind of in between everything.
So would you mind repeating the motion for Ms. LaChance?
And I'm not exactly sure of what this is, what the verbiage is. How do you talk about teacher negotiations? What is that termed?
Negotiations, teacher negotiations.
Teacher, it's not certified, it's certified staff negotiation? No, it's teacher?
We usually,
Okay, so I make a motion that we,
I think actually technically we've got a motion
we've
on
got
the
to vote
table,
on
so
this,
we've got to
yeah.
call that one.
Yeah,
and
you'd
then
have
we can
to-
make the new motion.
okay, so we should
Or
vote
just,
on that.
couldn't you make a motion to amend the motion on the table?
Yes.
Or we could just pass this motion and then do another
let's
motion.
pass this motion.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
then you can make another motion.
All in
How's that?
favor of passing the consent agenda as read?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to have a administrative contract negotiation in October.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Nay. Motion carries 3-1. All right. On to item B, consideration of Blaine County School District draft policies. Policy 203.4D, Teacher Board Liaison. Policy 602.2, Student Fees. Financial Policy, Budget and Program Planning. Financial Policy, Annual Budget Planning and Adoption. Financial Policy, Budget Administration. Financial Policy, Budget Adjustments. Do I hear a motion on the table?
I make a motion to pass
These policies.
these policies as written. Thank you.
Is there a
I'm
second?
tired.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item C, transfer of title of land, Blaine County Rec District. As a reminder, this is for that 10-foot strip of land adjacent to the pool. I'll go ahead and call for a motion at this time.
I'll make a motion to transfer the rights over to the Blaine County Recreation District.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I'll just say that I'm glad that the Blaine County Recreation District, who has been taking care of it, actually has ownership and can make the improvements and make it beneficial for the entire community. So thank them for finding this and bringing that to us. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item D, 5-year maintenance plan. I'll go ahead and call for a motion. How's that?
Okay, there's a couple of different motions, I guess, that have to be made, but the first one, just to clarify, is I make a motion that we put $14 million of the plant facilities levy money into a restricted fund in order to honor the commitment the district made to the public that the district will not collect this plant facilities money if student enrollment remains basically steady.
There isn't 14 million. You would just say
13.8.
Not to collect it.
Not to
Not
Yeah,
to
not
collect
to
it.
collect it.
That's right.
Because there's no money to put into a restricted.
So
Not to collect.
Okay.
Not to collect it for
That-
purposes other than building a school.
can I restate your motion, basically, so I make sure
Sure.
we get it correctly? So basically, you move that we not collect the $14 million that was earmarked for the construction of a new school, period.
Right. Well, and we could say in order to honor the commitment, but
Okay.
we don't have to.
Chatterton's got some advice for it.
I would say, make sure that you get the exact amount that was passed by the voters. Otherwise, you're going to lose $160,000 that you could have used for 5-year maintenance money.
So 13.8.
I think it was 13,844 or something. I know it was
So,
Levy
well,
here somewhere.
yeah, and I do too. It was stated in the paper as 14 million a couple of times. It was stated by Lonnie Barber as 14 million in his op-ed, but maybe it wasn't.
Let's get the actual levy that they passed.
It's 13,833. 13,833,000.
Mike, I'm disappointed. $11,000. Okay, so the motion was to not collect a $13.833 million that was earmarked for the construction, not collect.
Not collect, except for the building of a school. Because then you're just, when you have a discussion 6 months from now, if you decide to
Yeah, that's a very good
something in the
catch.
middle school, then you're stuck.
Okay, okay.
Would you mind rephrasing that?
Yeah, okay. I make a okay, let me work this out because I don't write it down yet. I make a motion that we do not collect 13.833 million that was earmarked for a new school unless student enrollment
Dictates construction of a school.
Dictates, rises, proves a need. I'll just say proves a need. Okay, I make a motion that the district, I make a motion that we do not collect $13,833,000 that was earmarked for a new school unless student enrollment proves a need.
There's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is this addressing the 5-year maintenance plan, or is that just to put it out there?
This is
It had to
just
start with this.
protecting
Yeah.
money.
Okay.
Okay, would you mind reading that back so everyone's clear on what is being voted on, Amanda?
See if you're still awake.
So there's a motion on the table that we do not collect the $13.833 million that was earmarked for construction of a new school unless student enrollment proves a need.
I mean, I don't know how to better say that. Unless increases in...
Unless a need is determined. I mean, that would...
I'd say a need for buildings, because isn't that what you're trying to, a need to protect it from is just...
To
not
build a
using-
building.
You're trying to protect it for building...
For building a new
if
school.
needed,
Yeah.
right?
A school building.
Mr. Chatterton's helping us.
Okay.
You already have that in existence right now. I mean, you've already stipulated that the building won't be built unless the need is there. So put a motion on there, really, the only thing it's going to do is enforce what you've already told the public you were going to do anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
So in my mind,
Yeah.
it's unnecessary.
I feel like it is necessary given this next portion where we're trying to do cost shifting. And I want to make sure that this amount is protected, that the promises are protected, so that that's stated as a motion. And then we can talk about cost shifting.
Well, you could do it in one motion, saying something to the fact that allow the 5-year maintenance plan to be spent out of the plant facility levy, except for the $13,833,000 that's earmarked for a new building in the future.
Okay, did you get that?
One more time. Allow the 5-year.
Allow the 5-year maintenance plan money to be spent out of residual funds from the school plant facilities levy without spending the $13,833,000 earmarked for the new building.
But we're still going to be collecting that money, and it's still going to be sitting there.
No,
Isn't that
not
right?
necessarily. You're not going to collect it till 2018 and 19, if you collect it.
Could you read what Mike said?
Mike, let me know if I missed anything. So it would essentially read, there is a motion that we allow the 5-year maintenance plan to be spent out of the residual plant facilities levy without spending the $13.833 million earmarked for a new facility, for a new school? New school building.
Okay, this also brings up Cammie's point, which was, should we be automatically greenlighting this 5-year plan at this time?
Yeah. I think we need to. I think these buildings need work. And I think to neglect that would be not right by us. I just think we need to at least address the things that need to be done.
I would agree with Trustee Freund. I think it's very prudent by the board to address the needs and prioritize the list. And this list is going to be ever-changing and adapting. But to be able to keep that $13.833 million earmarked for the construction of a new school and not be able to touch that, but be able to, outside of the need for construction of a new school, obviously, but be able to take care of the maintenance needs that do come up, I think is very prudent
We need
of the
to
board.
maintain the schools that we do have.
Dr. Holmes?
I think it goes into the 5-year planning that we're talking about for financial planning overall, so that we don't have to spend every school year, every board meeting, always on finances, because there's other work to be done. So if we do this in a 5-year plan, just like we did the strategic plan and a 5-year plan, we can rotate through all the work of the board rather than totally being captured by financial planning for a whole school year.
And just a point of order, I think prior to anyone making the motion that was crafted by Mr. Chatterton, I think Trustee Corker would either have to, A, withdraw her motion, or B, vote on that motion.
Yeah. How much, Howie, I just have a quick question. How much were you, and it's in here somewhere, how much total were you asking for this coming year? 533, 553?
240 actually for the budgeted amount.
I'm,
So it's, the columns didn't really represent the years as much as they represent the need.
Mhm.
So the totals are the same, but we just kind of move things back in the columns. But the budget amount for the coming year is two amounts. It's 255 or 155 in one budget and 85 in the other. 240 total.
I'm confused. I see it says 5-year plan total to date. And then at the bottom of 2016-17, it says 553, 423.
Right. That's it's not representative. This thing moves and morphs all the time. The budget amount for the coming years is 240.
So this is overstated by quite a bit.
Yeah, the columns in the meeting last month, if we did it based on the budgeted amount, the last column would have been $2 million. It's really representative of the items and their relative need over time. The document changes daily, monthly, as things come in. So the budgeted amount for the coming year is 240.
Right. And when we have a levy that we pass to the public, is that not supposed to be for items that are major items that are, that we specify to the public? Isn't that I'm trying to honor the public trust here. Isn't that the
You want me to
reason
read
that
the
we
levy
have
to you?
a levy? No, I understand. I understand what that is, but what's the purpose of a levy versus taking it out of a regular general fund? Is it just for maintenance costs?
In any type of a question you have on levy votes, you go back to the actual ballot and ask the question, what does the voters vote on? And if you read the ballot, what is actually asked the voters, what they were voting on, it was very specific. Maintenance of buildings and those types of things. You want me to read you the question?
No, I know that. And then it was all specified in here as to what it was for.
But there was a very specific purpose of the reason why this was worded the way it was.
Okay.
Because things change all the time.
Yeah.
And if you just go by based on what that list is, the ballot would have been 8 pages long, and it would have been only those things.
So basically, you're saying plant facilities, but really it's capital, it's maintenance, it's building maintenance.
The way it was crafted on the ballot, it says, and/or making improvements to any existing building, including all lighting, heating, ventilation, and sanitation facilities and appliances necessary to maintain and operate said buildings and facilities.
Right.
So we are legitimate according to the vote on the levy.
It makes sense to me to get it out of the general fund and get it and use these funds for this and protect the $14 million.
Yeah.
So I think we need to make a motion to that effect.
Sure.
Okay.
And
So first, we either need to A, withdraw your motion, or B, vote on the motion that's currently on the table,
That's yours.
which is trustee Corker's.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. I'll call for a new motion. If that's the one that Mike
was-
crafted, so be it.
Well, just if you could read that out.
Yes.
And so do you want it the 5-year maintenance plan as presented? Or is that
No.
just the 5-year?
And the 5-year
Five-year
maintenance plan.
So the motion would read to allow the 5-year maintenance plan to be spent out of the residual funds in the plant facilities levy without spending $13.833 million earmarked for the construction of a new school building.
I second that motion.
No,
You gotta
move
you
it.
gotta
She
make
can't.
it, 'cause-
I know,
So move it.
Just finding a little levity right now.
So move it.
I move to, do I have to repeat the whole thing?
No.
Okay.
Okay, we
Did
have,
we say while protecting instead of the word protecting in there? There was a, in the last part of it.
Spending.
Without spending, well, or you say without spending or while protecting.
Okay.
Without spending.
Without spending is protecting it, right?
Sure. Yeah, it's just, that's what you said. You used the word protect, and I liked it.
Okay, while protecting that. While protecting the 13.8.
And
Okay,
maybe
so we
could
have a
we
motion.
clarify that the 5-year maintenance plan is ever changing, so we're not totally committed to 3.1 million in.
You never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, because if we're just saying ever changing, then at least we're not committing to like a dollar amount saying, you know, if those costs come under, great.
So we have a motion on the table. Is there a second?
If we can have it with ever changing.
That would require an amendment to
Okay. Can we?
the original motion.
What am I amending?
We would amend it to having
An
it to the
ever-changing-
ever-changing.
Carol is withdrawing her motion. We're making a new motion.
Make the motion.
Are you withdrawing?
I
On the
guess.
record?
Go ahead.
On the record?
On the
Okay.
record, I'm withdrawing.
Okay, and then everything but adding it to the ever-changing 5-year maintenance plan, or, you know, the cost being on the ever-changing 5-year maintenance plan.
So allow the ever-changing.
Yeah.
5-year maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm making that
So Cammie's making that motion.
Yes,
Making
I
the
will
motion.
make that motion.
Is
And I'm
there
seconding the motion.
any further discussion? Please, no? I'll go ahead and call for the
I
vote
want
now.
to hear what our student representative thinks about the motion.
He's ready to go home. so
That's what I said. Are you still awake?
I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion on the table?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Item E, funding for the sidewalk and crosswalk. Is there a motion on the table?
Make a motion to,
There was a suggested motion.
okay, let me just read it. I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between BCSD and the City of Haley as drafted, thereby allocating $52,500 toward the cost of street crossing improvements associated with the Cobblestone Highway 75 project.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
Is it coming out of contingency?
There you go.
Oh, where did we have it originally coming out of?
I thought it was coming out of contingency. Isn't it, what did you tell us? Because we asked this.
We had $10,000 budgeted in the general fund.
Right.
This year.
Right, right.
And then we added the extra
Right.
money, but
And
where
then
was
we
it
added
coming from?
the other. Is
Like contingency?
Was it coming out?
I mean, if it
was
could come out of Howie's ever-changing plan, that's where it should come out of.
So,
No, because it's not.
It's not building maintenance.
yeah, I think it would be hard pressed.
Your recommendation.
Oh, so it's gotta be.
Chatterton?
I think it would have to come out of contingency rather than plant facilities because it does not.
So the
It's gonna come out
contingency.
of the general fund, it's got to come out of contingency.
Okay.
And
Let's
it's
do that.
because it would not fit the ballot question that we just discussed because it doesn't have anything to do with our facility or building improvement. So it would have to come out of that contingency fund.
Could it come from student safety? Did we say anything about student safety in there? No.
There's not that much money.
There was. They budgeted a whole lot for that in the levy.
But that,
Oh, you
but
mean
that
the
was,
levy. I thought you-
but because of the levy was tied to buildings. The crosswalk is not a part of one of our buildings, so I don't know that we could tie it to that.
So, yep, okay.
So the motion would be to, as stated, with the understanding of coming out of the contingency fund.
Yes.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Somebody's trying to
Aye.
drive home.